I was thinking it sounded like this song. Is it DB Boulevard?
No. Guess again.
Rapture, IO.
No. You got it. You're right. Somewhere. I'll give you a clue. It's called At Night.
At Night, yes.
Guess the artist.
S.
It's an S. Definitely an S.
I know what it looks like. I can't read.
Shawadi Wadi.
Shakedown.
Shakedown. This is like a cool IB for a DJ.
Not really. No, it's just first on my playlist.
Fair enough. This is a tune, wasn't it, back in the day? At night. Should we just play music today? I can't be arsed. Morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday? Tuesday? Wednesday? What day is today?
Wednesday.
I've not even thought. Right, Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Hello, how are you? Welcome to the Winners Club. This is Breakfast with Winners, brought to you by the Winners Club. I saw some new faces down the stage early doors, which is very exciting. Oh, they've gone now. Didn't like our banter. There's like 4 or 5 new people with new
spam
party
bots.
hats on. Or maybe it was
Spam bots.
Let's say spam bots. Let's blame them, not blame us. I like what we've done there. Good tactic. Good morning if you are new to the room. Welcome along. This is Breakfast with Winners, bringing you the most actionable, tangible content from the United Kingdom and with global guests from around the world. And we're here every single day, 6:30 until 9 a.m. UK time, doing this flipping nonsense, frankly. Good morning to, I can see some new party hats who've just joined the room. Hello, Boss Lady. Hello, Sheegan. Hello, Andrew, Harold, Ross, Cara, Rose, Dinesh, JR, Imani, Elizabeth, spelt in a funny way. Hopefully I've said that name correctly. Jonathan, Karen, Usman. He's got like a duck NFT thing on his head. That's very cool, isn't it? Good morning, everybody, wherever you are around the world. Welcome to the Winners Club. We are here every single day doing this stuff. We bring in experts. We bring in guests. We've got people from within our community. And today on the show, we're talking all about the power of community, because later on this morning, we're doing a international USA and UK collaboration. But basically got some people from the States coming on. That's about it for a live stream. But we've got Breakfast with Winners, which is the most popular community here in the United Kingdom for entrepreneurship. And we've got one of the most popular groups in the United States, Breakfast with Champions. And a couple of times a year, because of the way that the clocks work, we're already like an hour apart. We cross over, I think. So we're going to be getting those guys on later on. We're bringing on their founder, Glenn Lundy, to talk all about the power of community, because what he has built with that platform has been pretty impressive, to say the least. He's done some stuff, hasn't he, Glenn?
Yeah.
With that community, he's done some stuff. I remember when we first started this room, and Glenn sort of had a room, and for no other reason than just like we would finish a room. Yeah, because we'd finish about like 10, 11 o'clock-ish. He'd be kicking off about that time, and then he'd come into the room and sort of like promote stuff. And I was like, yeah, come on, then we can hand over to Glenn. It was just a nice excuse to finish the show, frankly, wasn't it?
That was when the room had about 800 people,
Yeah.
2,000 people in it every morning.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and you'd hand it over. So you'd be to start with about a year ago. If you're new to Clubhouse, so the party hat people who are down the bottom of the room right now. Bruce, good morning. I see you. Those people who are maybe newer to who were in Clubhouse at that period of time, rooms were going on for like days. Some rooms ran for days and days and days, and the fight for attention was huge, wasn't it? The fight and there's so many people trying to sort of battle with like getting people out of the hallway, and we were like, why don't we just, like, if we know there's a good room, we'll just at the end of our rooms we'll say, hey, we've got such and such has got a good room. I think we even used to let people like promote their rooms, didn't we? And everyone's like, what are you guys doing? You don't want to do that? Like, keep running your room and we'll take it over. Like, nah, not interested. Cheers anyway.
Well, no.
So, yeah, that's how
I remember when there was no right at the start. I used to run it from like 6:30, sometimes till like 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
But like take the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like it's like the only reason I remember that, because there's a little collective of us that meet on a Saturday, and I'm like, look, no worries, I'm just going to sit in the other room, and like do you remember how quick it used to eat your time?
Oh, it was nuts. Yeah.
Like, so what I'm saying is, it's like I would be the first there, and then I'd see them all walking in. I'd be like, I'll be in a minute. Like, then I'm seeing them all walk out. Like,
yeah.
And I'm like,
in the blink of an eye.
It was crazy.
Clubhouse time. I remember that I got COVID and I was like, yes, it's a good excuse to sit around for 10 days. Now I literally can't do anything, so I could just sit on Clubhouse. That didn't go down well in my house, let me tell you. But yes, the world of Clubhouse has slightly changed and slightly merged and slightly evolved since that period of time. But we've still got some great pals here on the app who are doing great stuff. And Glenn and the gang over at Breakfast with Champions do great content. They've done live events, they've done meetups, they've done all kinds of cool stuff in the States. When the world opens up a little bit, I reckon going to Breakfast with Champions HQ has got to be on our list of things to do. Can you get us could your plane get us to the States?
It would take a very long time.
We should do it though. Can we do it? Can we? No,
you need a lot of sick bag.
The sea, yeah, I would. I would stock up. The sea bit from one coast to the other, we couldn't do that, could we?
No, there's some people that have done round the world trips for charity, like challenges type, like around the world, flying around the world. Yeah, but you'd have to geographically plan it so you cross water at the shortest possible points, if you know what I mean.
What is the range of that plane that we went in?
About 3 hours flying time.
So you couldn't do around the world in 3 hours, then, could you?
You could, because you could fly across. You would want to be flying across land, don't you? You don't want to be running out of fuel above water. So
but where is there only a 3 hour sea?
There is a way there is a way you can do it. Yeah,
is there?
Yeah, there is.
Michelle's just put a jet that's for sale. Paul, it's only 7.9 million.
Is that architects I could hear in the background?
Yeah, I forgot to turn the volume fader down. Yeah, we'll have 2.
Oh, that was nice. It's got like a galley kitchen.
Yeah, no, I couldn't fly one of them.
What is that? That's a... Would you have to do an upgraded license to that one?
About 50 upgrades.
50 upgrades, okay.
Including the massive upgrade to my bank account.
I was about to say, yeah, if you work on the license part of it, Shipman could get selling some stuff, and by the time he gets to 8 mil, you've probably got to your upgrades, and we're happy days.
It flies 14. You can crowdfund.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, if you've got £500,000 you like to sink into
the winner's jet,
into the winner's jet. I quite like the idea of that. That's a nice little idea, isn't it? Awesome.
Do you know what I could fly though? I can fly. You know the ones that they use for parachute jumps. So you can fit about 20 people in the back of those. They got no seats in them. Do you know the ones?
Yeah.
Do you know the ones I mean? Because they're single. I can fly any single engine piston aeroplane.
Oh, we should do that. We should do it.
That's not pissed on an aeroplane. That's piston, i.e. propeller engine.
It's a very different
I'm lost
thing.
when you went into details, Paul.
Yeah. A round thing at the front that spins round. Don't get in the way of it.
Oh, okay.
One of those.
I can't even give it any banter. The first time I got it, smashed my head on the wing. Do you remember? Giving it loads on the social media. Give it a selfie and absolutely knocked myself out almost. So yeah, good morning everybody. We're going to talk this morning about the power of community. I'll tell you one of the things that has become part of the biggest, I guess, benefit of this community is the people that it has sort of brought into our circle of influence and the amazing people that otherwise we definitely would not have had the opportunity to speak with and become friends with and to collaborate with. One such person, I have to say, has just jumped up on stage, and I've become, I don't know if fanboy is the right word. I'm just going to go there. I've become a fanboy of Spencer Lodge, okay?
If he sold some shit, you'd be buying all of it.
I would, yeah. If he had a course, if he had like a retreat, if there was like the Spencer Lodge like getaway on an island, which I imagine he probably will do at some point, like I'll be there, like straight up. And I know that I've been listening to a lot of Spencer's podcasts. He's done 2 brilliant ones with Lewis Howes and Stephen Bartlett.
I remember he was a big fan of yours when you went on stage at EMC.
He wasn't at the end.
I was standing next to him. I can't actually repeat what he said in the words that he said it, but I think he was accusing you of having too much caffeine. Maybe.
He liked me before I went on stage. He did not like me enough to stick around to watch the end of it, which is fair enough. But yeah, I haven't become a Spencer Lodge fanboy. I was chatting to Spencer this morning, just saying I like that episode of the podcast, and he's doing some really cool stuff at the moment. Spencer Lodge, are you there?
Why don't you get us the guests that he gets, first of all? Then let's just address that issue and challenge.
We can hear you, mate, yes.
Very good.
There you are, you're there.
What's
you're
the
there.
question?
Where are you and what are you doing?
I'm in Rwanda at the moment and I'm building a playground in an orphanage.
Amazing. How did that come about? And tell us a little bit about it. I know we're going to get the guy on hopefully next week to talk about this in more detail, but how have you ended up there doing that?
So there's an Iranian guy that lives in Canada called Reza, who was an adrenaline junkie. If you go to his Instagram, you'll see he's mad about motocross and skiing and all kind of crazy stuff. And he had a near-death experience and decided to channel the energy into doing something good for the world. And so he set up an organization where he believes that children need to play and socialize, and in rural communities and in orphanages, there's a lot of bad stuff that happens too. And so he decided he was going to go on a mission and start developing and designing with the children playgrounds and then building them. And so he's done 24 playgrounds around Africa so far. We're in Rwanda at the moment, and he taught us about what happened with the genocide here in 1994, where 1 million people were killed in 100 days. And it devastated a country. It's 1/6 of the population.
Wow.
And they're left with 300,000 orphanages. 300,000 orphans. And people have healed and started to recover from it, which is fantastic. And I'm here. It's clean, it's safe, and it's a fantastic place that most people would never think of coming. And he said to me, Spence, would you be interested in coming to build a playground with me? And I was like, hell yeah. And jumped on the first plane I could, brought a couple of my staff with me as well. And we got down and dirty and stuck in and started welding and grinding and building slides and climbing frames and all that kind of stuff. And we're here for the week this week to do that.
Amazing. I was going to say something that we should get involved in, but then you mentioned tools and power tools and being useful. And I'm not sure Ashley Shipman's going to be a good addition to the team. Paul's got paint. Can you paint?
I can paint.
He can paint. We're good. We're good.
Yeah, but the greatest thing is that Ashley can reach everything because it's a climbing frame for kids.
Well, at least I can do the bits at the bottom. Yeah. So there is a use. There is a use.
Brilliant. Well, we're going to, hopefully next week, we're going to get Reza on to have more of a conversation with him.
Yeah, I'd love you to have a chat with him. I mean, for all of the guys that are listening here in your community, look, I come from a sales background, and we do sales incentives for our staff, and I've encouraged companies to do that over the years, whether that may be a trip to Vegas or some crazy stuff that people do. There is nothing that compares to the reward you get to spending time with these children and doing something worthwhile. And if there's anything that a community like yours that you've put together could do, and it's not about money, it really isn't. It's about effort and heart and trying to make a difference in the world. And you've got some incredible people in your community that are just so willing and giving. And maybe an idea would be for you guys one day to set up a trip where some of your community can come and do something that I'm doing this week. Because I tell you something, as much as we're doing this for the kids, I leave buzzing. I'm on fire when I leave, and I've had so much gratitude. I realize my life. What am I complaining about? What am I moaning about? I realize how lucky I am, and these trips are really powerful. Thanks for allowing me to talk. I'll let you get on with your session, and I've got to go get my hands dirty. So have a great day, everybody, and thanks for listening.
Awesome stuff. Cheers, pal. Thank you for coming on. Yeah, we'll organise. We'll link up with Reza hopefully in the next couple of weeks or so and find out more about what he's doing. And who knows, maybe create a winners club. You like a bit of manual labour? I mean, not manual labour. We could probably get you like soldering miserably in the corner somewhere in Rwanda, couldn't we? Ash can paint the bottom of stuff.
I can paint the skirting boards.
You paint the skirting boards. I'll play with the kids because I've really got no other tangible skills, frankly. I'm good with kids, but I'm just, other than that, I'm just useless.
You'd be walking around taking selfies of yourself.
Have a good day, mate. Happy building. Well, there
You'd be that person, wouldn't you, with your phone out all the time? And you'd be saying, put the fucking phone down and do some work.
Do you know what?
Do some work.
Actually, not that guy, because I did a trip to South Africa. We went to paint a school, and my ex-business partner, he got more paint on his phone than he did on the fucking wall because he was just too busy doing live streams. I was like, I don't think he painted anything.
Didn't you like hire a camera guy so you didn't have to do your selfies?
Yeah, I used to take Joe with me.
So it was like
someone can take the selfies for him.
Yeah, exactly. Make it look like a selfie, Joe. No, I don't want to look like I'm making an effort, but like catch me having fun. Joe, I wasn't having fun then. Line all the kids up and tell them I'm having fun in a minute. I tell you what, though, it's a mega experience. We did there's actually a documentary of a trip that we did, and Video Joe the Ninja, came with us, and he filmed for 5 days, and 7 days later we made a 60-minute documentary. It was absolutely phenomenal what he put together, to be fair. But yeah, very worth doing.
Did anyone watch it?
I don't know. That wasn't really the point of it, was it? I suppose it was the point of it. I'll tell you what, since you became handsome and slender, you've become a right arsehole. So if anyone who's not watching it, is this live stream on yet?
Yeah, we're live on YouTube, Twitter. So no, we're not on Twitter. It's live. Twitter wouldn't work. Twitter, fix your problems if you're listening. YouTube and Facebook. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So
no,
Facebook.
I see him in my wind mirror this morning, and I thought he's walking like Paul, but
he's walking like Paul. He's got a right sour face like Paul.
he's talking to someone with that look. Because someone was sitting behind me for a while and they didn't move, and he just walked up to me and he was like, "I spoke to him, and what did you?"
No, I said to so I've pulled into the gate, and Ashley's sitting at the gate, so I know what that means. That means he can't get in. But I noticed that there was 6 minutes between when I pulled up and when he's there, so he's been sitting at the gate for 6 minutes. So firstly, I'm thinking, like, why is he just sitting staring at the gate? Surely he's got to engage the second gear of his brain to work out what should I do if no one's coming down to open the gate. So that's my first thought.
James already been down.
The second,
forgot my keys.
How many men does it take to open a gate? Right. The second,
quite a few.
The second thing was, who's this bloke sitting behind Ashley in the car? So I walk up to his window, I knock on his window, and he says, I said, "Oh," because he wasn't one of my tenants. You can tell by. They were speaking the native language of Ilford, not. Right. So I said, "Right, okay." I said, "Good morning. You waiting to get in the car park?" "No, I'm waiting for this car to move out of the way." I said, "Okay. Have you been and asked him?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, what's your plan then? To wait till lunchtime?" He's just sitting in his car, staring at the back of Ashley's car.
But I could see Paul like walking up to the gate, just like shaking his head, like the conversation I've just had.
So, and the guys just looked at me. No. I wait for him to move. And you sort of think, like, really, is this how this morning's going? First of all, I've got one idiot waiting at the gate who I know's been there for 6 minutes.
Because the other idiot's forgotten his keys
he can't get in the gate. And the other bloke's just decided to wait to stare at his car politely, not asking him to move out the way.
They do that down that. The other day, someone's at German. So I'm trying to leave at like 9 o'clock. Someone's using that alley.
And that was all before, well, it was just after 6 a.m. But
it's a lot, isn't it, for that time in the morning? People just use that alleyway as a parking space.
Yeah.
Someone parked there the other day and just fully left. Just
no,
I've
been one of these grown men lose their all sense of being sensible.
Yeah.
You've come at, you get in your car sometimes, you're up against it to leave because you've got a commitment at home or something you've got to get out to. You drive out the corner, out the gate, round the corner, and someone's parked their car there, and they literally pull in there at the start of it and leave their car and park and get out.
That's it, yeah.
And lock their car and walk away. But that's a weekly occurrence. So on a busy day, if they do it at the wrong time, by the time you find that guy and he comes back to his car, there's 4 or 5 cars in a rush wanting to get out, being blocked. Yeah. You've had to stop people lynching him.
Yeah.
But they just park there and they go into the shops. You think, what are you? And they come back. What are you doing? Why is parking my car?
I had what they call a PCO. So not a copper, but they're like a
plastic.
No, what are they? Plastic copper. What are they called? Community support officers. I think that's what you mean, Ashley. I think you meant a community support officer. Looks like a copper, sounds like a copper, not quite a copper. So that happened to me the other day.
Sorry if you work for the police service and you're listening.
Shout out to all the people giving up their time, energy, effort, and putting their lives on the line to work on the streets there.
But they probably call them plastic ones as well.
Yeah. So I come out the other night, it's about 9 o'clock, and the guy, I didn't know obviously at the time, the guy's in German Doner Kebab, and he's just parked his car and just fully left it. And I'm like, all right. And I sort of like, I touched the bonnet, and the bonnet was cold. I'm like, how long is this guy leaving this car here for? So then I think, I'm just going to be sensible about it. I'm not going to get irate about it. It is what it is. This is not a personal affront. The guy has just parked badly. 30 seconds go by, and now I'm furious. And just so happens...
Did you say 30
seconds?
30 seconds when you can't, when you're waiting for somebody to move their car, feels like 30 minutes, doesn't it? It really does.
So I'm going around the car, and then this community support officer, so now I'm testing all the door handles, and the community support officer says... It just literally appears out of nowhere. Like this oracle. He went, I can't move that, mate, for you. I was like, sorry? He went, yeah, I can't move that. It's private property. He went, what are you going to do? I went, I don't know.
No, this is a private road. They class the road as private property. Yeah.
So he's like, I can't do anything about that, mate. I was like I'd asked him to. I was like, I was like, okay. He said, what are you going to do? I was like, well, I'm going to try all the door handles. He said, what are you going to do if you can? I said, I'm going to take the handbrake off. I'm going to move it if the door handles are open. He said, what if you can't? I said, well, I'll find another way of getting in this car. And again, I'm going to apply the same logic. I'm just going to put the handbrake down. I'm going to move this car. He went, yeah, you could be here a while, couldn't you? I'm like, are you trying to wind me up? Do you want me to elbow drop this window?
If you're ever bored and you've got 5 minutes, well, 10 or 15 minutes, ask Joe when you see him, to tell you some stories about that road and cars being left there. He's got some. We've honestly nearly smashed windows before. We've had to restrain people from smashing windows of cars that have been left there. And you're talking like someone put it up to an hour wait sometimes.
No.
People leaving it, going over to a restaurant. You find them. They're sitting in the Chinese restaurant down the road having a meal.
There's two car parks.
Your car's there, mate. What, you've left your car in a road? No, it's a spot. No, it's a road. It's an access road. Just some people are clueless. Absolutely clueless.
Surely fire hazard, isn't it?
Well, the thing is,
Guess
it's
what,
blocking
move it.
2 car parks. There's like a car park there, car park down there.
I think it's because it's got a sign that says private road on it, because it's a private road.
So they assume that no one's going to be going down there.
Yeah,
Is that your road as well?
it is.
Can you not put? Can we do something about? Could you put a barrier and charge people? I'm surprised you haven't turned this into a system or a way of making money.
We have attempted to put. Well, I had a master plan of putting a big gate, putting the gate at the end. But the problem is, it's our road, but with access rights for all of the houses that live above the shops, all the flats that live above the shops.
Gotcha.
So there's about 50 addresses, believe it or not, that are down that road that have rear access to their flats from behind. And plus the shops have got access, and there's 4 units down the end as well. So you'd have to get somehow all of those people to agree to putting the gate on. So it never really
You're better off
got
like
much traction.
Ash would be better off putting one of his pals just down at the end of the road collecting cash.
In a normal working day, we've got a CCTV camera that overlooks the entry to the road. On a normal working day, well, if it's after when he arrives, Steve, the security guard, he's quite hot on it. So as soon as anyone parks there, within a few seconds, he's out the front door and telling them to move their car. He's well trained in getting out there quickly. It's about all he does do quickly, but he does do that part quickly.
Oh, brilliant! Good morning, Steve. If you're listening, he never does he?
He might do.
I very much doubt it. If he's ever walked
You
past
know when
it.
he's listened, because you go down there for help and he won't be there.
I can guarantee you one thing: when you need Steve, you won't find him.
Oh no,
That's all I know.
I'm gonna caveat that when we didn't have a key or something like that, and that's it. When there was a power cut, and I was super helped that morning and solved every problem.
Oh yeah, that morning.
Finding switches that weren't plugged in, looking at a blind saying I can't see out the window.
He has got. He is. You know, he did pull up that day. But without ranting about Steve too much, his one job is to be the concierge of the building. Okay, so that needs you to be on the front desk of the building. Firstly, answering the phones when they ring and greeting people when they walk in. So really, 2 roles there. There's other things he has to do, walk around the building occasionally and do stuff. But you can guarantee when the amount of times you find random people walking around this building.
I found one yesterday.
Yeah.
I thought it was a debt collector. I didn't want to bring him upstairs. I'm looking for Paul Abercrombie. I was like, I know Paul.
The way you said
I said, where are you from, mate?
One.
I said, where are you from?
Yeah, always get nervous when they ask you by name, especially when
It's like I'm looking for work.
He's wearing a
Where's
black
work
suit
guy?
with a black tie as well.
I
That
thought he was
guy.
going to a few. That's what I thought. He's either here to assassinate you or to take your cash. I was like, either way, this is bad. He's like, I'm here for work. I was like, this whole thing's work, Hive.
He was trying to sell me HR legal services.
But then I thought I'd dropped you in it because I'm thinking if he is a debt collector, and he's like, he said, so which floor is Paul? I said, this whole thing's Paul's. He went, is it? And I was like, oh shit.
He said,
Yeah, I think it's on a long-term lease for 25 years. I started telling him your life story.
He starts changing locks on the offices.
No, but so people, you always find random people walking around the building. You think all you've got to do is stop people when they walk in. It's not that hard. Yet it's a daily occurrence. You find random people walking the corridors, randomly asking for somebody who's on the floor above or the floor below or
Get off
lost.
my train.
Yeah. Anyway, he's a nice guy.
There you go. Prerequisite. Used to say his job. Lovely fella. Anyway, I don't think we've actually talked about the Para community in the first 28 minutes, but there you go. C'est la vie. It is what it is. Good morning, everybody. If you have just tuned in, this is Breakfast with Winners, brought to you by the Winners Club. If you haven't yet done so, click onto the little green Monopoly house at the top of the room. 39,900. Can we get to 40,000 members today? Not that actually means anything, but it'd just be good for our ego more than anything, wouldn't it? So if you haven't yet done so, the point of this is click onto the little green Monopoly house at the top of the room right now, and you can become a member of the Winners Club. Me and Paul had a bit of a chit chat yesterday about some stuff that's coming up, and we'll definitely be having to run some private rooms to onboard some of you guys into the world that we've created around Web3, etc. So make sure you click onto the Monopoly House and you can become a member. So if we do, as and when we do those private rooms, you get notified on them. Also, if you are a member, You get notified when we go live on these rooms. Another couple of housekeeping points. If you want to join in the conversation in visual format today as well, please feel free to do so. You can click onto the little icon in the bottom left-hand corner, the little chat bubble. And you go into the chat in there as well. Good morning to everyone who's in there. Good morning to Benefit Lines is in there from Ghana. First time here, first time listener. Dr. Dunny's in there. Anderson's in there. Bob, Dave, Trish, Coach PK.
Oh, sorry, I've just sent you. I sent somebody an email last night. I thought you'd like it. It was well worded. It was just giving somebody some constructive feedback.
Okay.
Sorry,
I thought you were still.
I was laughing at myself.
Who's okay? I'll have to read that in a second. So yeah, go join in the chat. By the way, guys, if you do see any no spamming in the chat, please. We've had that in the last couple of days. People are like, oh, such and such made me $15,000 overnight on crypto. Like, don't click the links. If anyone puts a silly link in there, let us know if they do as well, and we will remove the link and kick them out. I've been getting loads of people who are like, oh, you're getting quite harsh with that. I'm like, yes, we are. Also, if you want to, you can share this room out. Click onto the little share button at the bottom of the screen as well. You can share this out. You don't have to share it across your socials unless you really want to. You can do if you want. Ashley Shipman, just to let you know, you're unmuted on your phone. Just to let you know. I think the little red icon signifies that you are unmuted. Oh, it's unmuted on here. I take it back. So you look unmuted on my screen, but you're muted in real life.
Oh,
the ever evolving world of Ashley Shipman. Technical.
I'm just reading Paul's complaining.
That's what I want to get to, frankly.
So that was sent to the customer success team.
Okay. I'll read it.
Ironically named the customer success team.
I just love how you put in brackets customer success at the end.
Anyway, that's the housekeeping done. Right, this morning we were talking about the power of community, because at about 8 o'clock in about 60 minutes time, we will be linking up with our friends over the pond, our powers within Breakfast with Champions, because for a couple of times per year, where the clocks go forwards or backwards or whichever way it is, in the States, they do it a week earlier or a week later. So we end up being we're crossing over, which is great, because we can touch base with those guys on a daily basis. And we're going to be bringing in the founder of Breakfast with Champions, Glenn Lundy, is coming in at 8 o'clock for a shared live stream. And we're going to be talking about all the power of community, because what Glenn has done building a community and a brand and a business and an organisation off the back of what is created with Breakfast with Champions has been fairly impressive to watch. So we'll be talking about that at about 8 o'clock this morning. But in between that time, I'd love to get some shares from you guys. The power of community. How have you used the power of community in your business? How important is community to your business? If you're maybe, a sole trader or a solopreneur, if you're starting up in business, you're at the sort of the earlier stages of it, how important is it that you look at community? We'd love to get some shares from you guys this morning and get as many voices as we can as possible. Also, guys, if you're in the audience, if you'd like to share on this, as long as you have got your bio filled in, you can come up on stage, just stick the hand raise button on and we will come to you as well. So give us a flash, guys, if you'd like to share this morning. We'll go to Zoe, then we'll go to Mary, as in Marigold, favourite name of all time. Let's go there first. Let's go Zoe and then Mary. Zoe, coming to you.
Morning, how are you doing? Community is massive for us. I think when I started my business, I didn't feel like there was anyone sort of doing, it wasn't true, like there were loads of people doing what I was doing, but there was no one I felt I could ask questions. So like I'd have questions like, how do I price for the service that I offer? How can I do marketing for what I do? How can I find clients? And I felt like if I started asking questions like that, or actually asking technical questions, because I'm an accountant by training and my business was a bookkeeping practice, if I asked questions, I felt pretty stupid that I didn't know the answer. So I think that feeling made it really difficult to build the confidence to grow the business. And I met a lady one day a few times at an event, and she is a bookkeeper as well. And she was like, oh, I feel like this too. There must be a way we can support people. And in our world, you have like conferences every year. Like there might be like an annual conference, and you'll go to that and you'll be like, yeah, I've learned everything. I'm going to go away. I'm going to put it into practice in my business. And then you go back to your office and you're really motivated for like a day. And then it all just, you're just back in the day-to-day stuff. And we both felt like that we didn't have this sort of opportunity to continue the conversation outside of those events. So anyway, we ended up working together and building a community for bookkeepers. And we've now got 7,000 members of a Facebook community. Now, when we got together, she'd started this group and it had 100 people in it. And this was only 2 years ago. But I think And our focus has really been on people supporting people. Like, we've been really open, we've been honest about everything. We've made it a place where there's no stupid questions. Like, we kick people out of the group if they try to, I don't know, make people feel that they can't ask a question. We really want it to be like a safe space. And it's been massive. Like, we've got like really amazing goodwill, people support each other. Obviously that is part of, that's helped us build a business. We can then support that community through courses and things, but it's never like a hard sell thing. Like, there will be people who aren't ready to work with us, but we just want them to be there and benefit from having people around them. And it's been really amazing. So for me, community is like absolutely number one, because if you can create that sense of belonging, that is really powerful for anything else you do in your business, like what you guys are doing here. Thank you. Back to you.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Zoe. Did you know, before you sort of like, I guess, stumbled on the community aspect being super important, did you know that was going to be something that you wanted to focus on, or did it sort of like reveal itself when you started to go down that sort of particular direction?
Yeah, I think when Jo and I started working together, we were both speaking at an industry event. She went on stage and she was talking about starting a practice. She'd been in practice before and she was like, I'm going to build a 6-figure business. I know what I need to do. This is what I'm going to do. And then I stood on stage and I gave a talk about setting goals. I'd just written a book around having a baby, like written most of the book in the middle of the night in bed on Google Docs on my phone. And I was like, look, you can do anything you put your mind to, like, these are my plans. And so Jo came up to me after that conference and she was like, we need to know each other. Like, we have to work together. She said, I've got this idea for this course that I can teach people, which is about building her 6-figure business and what she was going to take them through to do that. And she was like, and I think you're the person who can help me to deliver it. And I was like, this woman is mad. But anyway, we like stayed in touch and it did become the business. And we knew we wanted to sell a course. And Jo, you know Lisa Johnson, I know you know Lisa. And Jo had been on Lisa's one-to-many program. So she was quite aware of the idea of like building a community, getting lots of feedback, being able to deliver something to that community. But we also knew that we had to build trust, because a few people had seen us at that event, but that was it. Like, other than that, I was just some random accountant who teamed up with Jo. Like, we really needed to build that credibility and trust and likability. And it did take a long time. Like, there was a lot of work to build the community. Like, we put podcasts out every week. We really had to drive conversation in that group. Now it looks after itself, but I suppose we learnt from going in there, and I was quite guarded at first. Like, I didn't want to share things. I felt like I had to be this really like professional person, and no one would ever want to work with me if they just thought I was like trying to sell them something, or I didn't know all the answers. So I felt that was really important. I was really guarded, but actually, as I learned that opening up and sharing experiences that they could see in themselves, like, I don't know, like I'd say, oh, you know, I had this client who was really awful to one of my team, and then I like sacked the client, whereas if he was horrible to me, I would have just dealt with it. You know, when you tell people stuff like that and you're like, why do we do this to ourselves? They see that in themselves, and then they're like, oh my God, this person is like me. So like, it was really important to go there and be ourselves and encourage people to feel it was okay to share. And we had to lead the way in doing that. And I think now we've got that sort of critical mass of people, and we have these kind of cheerleaders within the group who really want to be part of it and help other people too. That's massive. So I think we knew the community was important, but we didn't really, until we really saw the benefits of it, we didn't completely see it, if you know what I mean.
So you had to sort of get it up and running to see how valuable it actually would end up being. Yeah, in terms of what we sell, we were able to sell things quite early on because people knew Jo. She had a reputation as a good person, and we were delivering something at quite a low price that people felt they needed. But once now it's just this incredible community. Like, people will come into the group and they won't necessarily know straight away it's about us. So that has been really powerful for everything we do, and people sort of talking about it and spreading the word. Awesome stuff. Thank you for your shares. Great stuff. Also, thank you to everyone who is sharing where they are in the world. I'd love to do this actually this morning. Where are you in the world and what time is it? I'm just intrigued. We've had, where have we had so far? We've had Rhode Island, It's 3:06 in Rhode Island from the Hair Doctor. 3 a.m. in Toronto. So there, you let me know. Morning winners, Lauren Lepley. Still pretty same time for you, isn't it, Lauren? 7:08, still in Devon. No time difference there, is there?
Although there should be there.
It's a 10-minute delay. Michelle is in Florida. It's 3 a.m. Yeah, let us know where you are in the world and what time it is in the chat. Thank you very much. Don't forget you can go and watch this if you'd like to as well on YouTube. I mean, it's just 3 gigantic heads on screens, frankly, until Glenn turns up. But if you want to, you're more than welcome to. You can go and check that out. And yeah, there we go. Right, let's go to Mary. Marigold, good morning to you. Power Community, what say you on the subject, my friend?
Thank you so much for the room, and thank you, James. Yeah, that has been one of the most important things, not just for the not-for-profit business that I run now, but it's always been that way. But I reside in the USA, and it is just after 3 a.m. in the morning currently. So it's so I really like this community. I'll just say that. So it's been really important because one of the things that I've noticed in terms of getting people on board with the mission of the shelter and helping women and individuals in crisis has been that community. Without the community, we couldn't have done it. So when I restarted this facility, it was the community that got behind it, and also a gift from my mother. I have to be honest. She gave me a gift, and with that, I was able to get the first building. But it was the community, and one of the things I realized about the community, and people will know this, people do business with people they know and like, and one of the things I did also notice, people who they trust. And the trust is built from being around that person, for interacting with that person, and to getting to know that person. That's one of the ways that the trust is built. It's one of the big ways. And to me, there's no substitute. I don't know if there's a substitute from just being around that person. And I think as human beings, we are meant to be in community. And I think this is a community that I really like to be a part of, and there are some other communities on Clubhouse that I like to be a part of. On Facebook, there is a group called, what is it called? It's called Your Thriving Nonprofit. Fabulous group. You can ask any question in there, and you'll get about 20 to 30 experts that will give you the answer, and they won't give you any wishy-washy answers. They'll be experts, and so it's real meaty stuff that you can use. And so that is what I like. I think it's kind of easy to engage. It's not that easy to engage with the Winners Club, but I do like to get on here a couple of times a week, because at other times I have to be up early so I can do some work. Anyway, with that, I will pause. Thank you.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Mary. Good to have you with us as always. We're getting loads of people in the chat. We've got Kimberly King, as always. She's here. Good morning, community. It's 3 a.m. for Kimberly where she is. Ade saying it's good morning all the way from Essex, not too far from us. It's 8:09 in Luxembourg. It is 9 o'clock in the morning in Zambia. Ilunga has messaged us there. 3 a.m. in Florida. Loads of people telling us where they are and what time it is. I don't know why I always find it interesting. Do you remember that when you used to go on holiday? Oh, what's the weather like? What time is it there? It's like 23 degrees. I'm in Spain, Mum. 1 hour ahead. Oh, so you're in the future. Yeah, I suppose so.
I
probably won't call again, Mum. Phone calls run out. Bye.
I think I went on holiday once and I was so baffled that it was where you're so used to the time being forward or back. It was the same time. I think it's like Gran Canaria or something like that. I think it's the same time as the UK.
Yeah, because it's done on what do you call it? The lateral lines? Is it lateral? Here he goes, Captain Pilot.
Oh, yeah, I was baffled that it was exactly the same time. So I was like, what's the time back home? Like 4 o'clock. Oh, same here.
Same here. I don't even have to change my watch.
My phone hasn't updated.
Where's the worst place, random aside, where's the worst place you've ever got jet lag from? Talking of time zones.
Bali.
Is Bali bad?
Oh, it's not that.
What is it? 8 hours ahead?
Yeah, but I remember just trying to communicate with Luke back home, and it was always...
Yeah, that's a pain.
He was always...
Start of your day's end of his.
Yeah, but for some reason, I'd always need to speak to him, and it'd be 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
For him. And I'm like... And I would.
How did you resolve that, Ash? I bet I know. I'm going to write it down on a piece of paper. All right, Ash just made him get up at 2 o'clock. How did you resolve that, Ash?
I rang him relentlessly till he answered his phone. And texted him and was making. I was trying to think, how can I make his phone make more noise? Like, so then I started texting him. Good plan. Answer your phone.
Good plan. Because even if you put it on, I've dropped me spoon in me porridge.
And then I rang him and I was
First
like,
world problems.
I was like, Luke, I need you to get this payment transferred over. He's like, Ash, it's 2 a.m, mate. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm standing at reception. He's like, oh, give me 2 minutes. Let me just try and wake up. And I'm like, all right, sweet, I'll wait for you. Bring you back here. I'll wait 120 seconds because you said 2 minutes.
I'll call you back. Call you back at 3:02.
He's like, I'm turning my laptop on. But yeah, no, that was really...
I always find coming back from the States is the one. For whatever reason. Like, Australia, I find it's all right because it's like completely the opposite. But that one from the States, especially the north, south, it never eats really weak. West Coast, like San Fran, battered me for about 5 days. You know, you've got jet lag and you've got a kid and the kid don't care because the kid ain't got jet lag. And it's like, come on. I'm like, nah.
Well, we do know that you like to make the most of situations. Like, for example, when you moved house. You allowed that to take 3 weeks. So we know that
I had
jet lag.
1 week to move an entire family.
You know, just one of those people, I could imagine. You know, like, I've got a couple of these that I know. There's someone in my family, you know, like we've all had COVID, haven't we? But they get COVID. They're really bad with it, you know. Like, you know, it's just it's the worst sore throat they've ever had, the worst cough they've ever had. It's like anybody else's. It's like anybody else's cough didn't exist.
I'm actually all right for that, to be fair, but that's only because I live with the world's worst. My wife, anything she does is near death. We've had an ambulance out. I swear to God, we've had an ambulance out on an emergency blue light call before because she pulled her back cleaning. Now, that's not like a misogynistic, she was cleaning the house. For some reason, the flipping idiot decided she was going to clean the entire property with, and it was only like a 2-bedroom flat, by the way, at this point in time, with just the end nozzle. She went, I don't clean often, but when I clean, I properly clean. I'm like, you're going to be there all day. And she was there all day. And we had, she's like, I think I'm having a heart attack.
And it required
an ambulance, like an emergency service had to come out because as soon as you say anything to do with like your heart, they're like, no, you've got pulled muscles. So there's me at 3 o'clock. So I was like, should I go get some ibuprofen? I think you should. Should I have a warm bath? Yeah, if you want. I'll go to the 24-hour Tesco's to go and get you some ibuprofen gel, shall I? Cheers to emergency services who had, what's that call out cost them? Probably about £1,000 in combined services for a bad back because of cleaning. So no, I don't do the hypochondria thing because I live with one. I do sometimes still get the niggling from donating that kidney like a hero. Like, whatever, I don't like to talk about it, guys. I don't like to talk about it too often.
Well, you done that?
Nah, I don't like to talk about it, Ash.
You didn't know that he gave a kidney away?
No, I'm just
don't like to talk about it, guys.
His operation was the one.
No, it's just, you can find out the full story. Go to jamesgaveakidney.com. #hero.
Did you record it and film it?
Yeah, I did. I tried to. Hey, guys. I actually did just. I did. As soon as I woke up, I was off my nut as well. You know when you think you're all right and then you look back.
I bet if you go back on his Instagram feed, you'd find it. You'd find his Instagram recording of him having his kidney removed.
Doc, if one of you cuts me, can the other one... Like, if I cleaned the phone before, can I bring that in with me?
He would do anything for an Instagram post, literally.
Mad for an Instagram post. I'll tell you what, when you've bought followers and you're playing catch-up, you do what you got to do. You do what you got to do. # don't buy followers, gang. Did it 3 years ago. Bad idea. Anyway, right, we'll talk about the power of community this morning, not about... various versions of heroism. Give us a flash of the mic if you'd like to share this morning. What's the number one benefit that you've found from creating a community within your business, within your brand? Oh, no, that's me. I'll take that one, guys. I just had to take that one. Didn't even touch it. You saw me, didn't even touch it. Right, give us a flash if you'd like to share this morning about community in your business.
I was listening to a national radio station this morning, okay? When I come in, because I wasn't here just for 6, so I managed to hear the breakfast show that started at 6 on a talk radio station.
Which one?
Can't say.
Okay.
And for what? 'Cause I'm just about to insult them. Okay. So just in case they ever wanted us to do a show on there. Maybe they would. I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't. I'm not saying we want to be radio
I don't think we need to worry about that too much.
I'm just saying we've got to be politically correct.
Well, now it's for James' work experience, and it's like sacked from the radio.
6:01, they play their little music. They come on, a bit like we do. 6:02, there's a big echo.
No.
Yeah. And I went, you mugs.
On national radio?
Yeah, on national radio, there was a big echo. And do you know what I reckon it was? Because they had one of their presenters join them via Zoom. They just created an audio loop, a bit like what happens when you do your link and somebody hadn't sorted it out. So even a national radio station has technical issues.
There you go.
We all have an Ashley Shipman.
And that is
Did
the only
Did they
likeness.
smash the place up as they was walking through? Did they... That's...
Anyone coffee?
Do you remember the first day you was breathing really heavily and somebody actually sent a message saying, have you got a velociraptor in the studio? Is there a velociraptor sitting over your shoulder?
It's like...
The irony is
If I fall that because of my snoring is horrendous.
Are you a snorer?
But...
Did you even have to answer that question? Ask that question.
But Ariana loves it. Like she, I think it's like a comfort for my daughter. I'm not too sure. She's like, Daddy, you were snoring really loud last night, and I'm like, oh, was I? She was like, and I cuddled you, and I'm like, I think it may be like a bit of a comfort for her. And I found someone.
Good way to spin it.
I found someone who loves it, so I just stay with Ariana a lot now.
There you go.
It's problem solved.
There you go. Sorted. Right, Paul was flashing. Paul Merrick, good morning to you, my friend. How the devil are you?
I can flash if you want.
The power of... No, other Paul. We've got another Paul. We've got a better Paul. We always try and collect better versions of Paul. We found another one. So, Paul Merrick, good morning to you, pal. How are you?
I'm good, sir. Long time no speak.
Long time no speak indeed. Power of community. What say you on the subject? So I know you're someone who's built substantial businesses and communities around your various business projects. So community, is it a big thing to you in your world?
It's turned out to be a couple of years ago. I'm semi-retired now. I'm a semi-retired property developer, and I'm bored. Hence why I'm at this time in the morning on the Winners Club. Not that it's boring in any way, shape, or form. It's a wonderful thing.
Thank you for that fine review. There.
Right,
Cheers.
Paul's coming out. He's got to go. Paul's got to go, everyone. Sorry about that.
Best thing I've ever listened to in my whole life, and I'm old, so I mean that's a real boast. So a couple of years ago, I was really bored, and I have a lot of property knowledge that I wanted to share, but I didn't want to do a course or anything like that because I'd been down that route and it didn't really float my boat. So I got a bunch of guys together, what we'd call first-time property developers, got them together, kind of we located a couple of sites, and the guys have started building houses. We're currently building 9 houses, 2 major conversions from commercial property to residential property, and a small industrial unit as well. And the community aspect of it is, as I started to think about this and get more involved in it, I thought about the kind of power of communities buying together. So instead of one developer going out and buying the timber or the materials to build one house, which would be valued at X, what we did was we went to the suppliers and said, actually, we're building all of these things. What's the price now? So the power of community working together, purchasing, took the materials down, in some cases down to 50%, which is a huge saving. And we were then able to, the first of the houses had been sold, we were then able to sell the houses into we're in Scotland, so we're very poor. You were talking about time scales and the time of day. And I'm roughly at the same time of day as you guys, but of course we're in Scotland, so actually we're about 10 years behind London. So our prices are quite low for property up here. And we were then able to pass those savings on that we made as the developers to the local community, which feels like something you should do with your life at this age. So that's my community share.
Awesome stuff. Great to hear from you, mate. And yes, as someone who knows you well, I know the kind of level of the game that you're playing at. So when you've created a sort of a collaborative co-buying and co-developing offering, it doesn't surprise me that it's then gone into such detail that you've gone to find a better way to work with suppliers as well. So awesome stuff. Thank you for being here. I've seen you popping up in the room a few times, mate. So it's good to see you and good to hear from you as well. And no doubt you can share a lot of expertise and knowledge moving forwards within this community as well. So thanks for being here. Awesome stuff. Right. we have got a question about community. Who was it from? Captain Crypto? Was it from Mark, did you say?
Yeah.
Mark Watts. Is Mark on the stage?
I am indeed. Yes, thank you very much. Not so much a share around community as you say, a question. And my question, so basically we're due to launch a property-related software platform, which will be up and running in the next few weeks. And we're spending a lot of time and energy, obviously, getting that built and up and running, etc. Understand the power of community. I guess the question is around in the early days, do you really want to spend a lot of energy building your own community or identifying existing communities and fully integrating yourself into those? What are your thoughts on the pros and cons of either?
Oh, great question. Captain Crypto, do you have a take on this?
The silence is thinking time.
Okay, I'll go for it. I think within your space, Mark, there are. I think you should be doing a little bit of both. Effectively, I think you need to start building your own foundations. Nice property pun there. I think that you need to be sowing seeds so that you have got something that you control. Now, a lot of people, by the way, will do this on like a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group. I would be saying to you that those things are great, but where possible, also get them onto a platform that you actually control. Because whether it be Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, any of those platforms, if you build your house on somebody else's sand, the foundation is never going to be solid. So I would be giving value in other people's communities, leveraging your expert sort of thought leadership, leveraging that community, within the space that you've got like the guys at Whitebox, for example, who've got the Property Developers Secrets group on Facebook. That's like 27,000 people, I think it is now. You've got Rob Moore, who's a friend of the show, who's got Progressive Property. I think that's got sort of 50,000 people. Now, what you don't want to do is just go in there and start spamming, going, hey, check out my app, check out my app, check out my app, because then you'll fast disenfranchise people by doing it that way. But if you go and lead with value first, go in and give expertise, give guidance, give comments on other shares from other people, I think do that. And then as people start to follow you, make it part of your sort of social media process that, at least every 3 days you're promoting your own mailing list or your own community. Probably get them to a community of your own and then encourage them to get onto a mailing list. You could even, if you build a community on Facebook, for example, when you make a group, you can, and obviously a group and a community is two different things, I get that, but on a group page, you can actually have onboarding questions. So you could get their email address, and it could be a prerequisite to being allowed to join the community is to give you their email address. So that's what I'd be doing. I'd be going and fishing in other people's ponds for the attention, then driving them to a platform that I would control would be what I would do. Captain Crypto is looking at me angrily, though. I think I've maybe given you bad advice. Because he's angry. Why are you so angry with me?
Thinking.
Oh, is that your thinking face?
Well, maybe, clearly.
You're not. It's not a miserable face. It's a thinking face. Got it.
No, I was. Do you know the question I was trying to answer in my own head? If I was building a community from scratch from day one now, would I use Facebook groups?
And would you?
I don't really know if I can answer that question. Because you've got to give. I've been having this debate and dilemma myself in what we're doing with. Look, we recognise we need a community platform outside of to put people into outside of the normal realms of just talking on Clubhouse and outside of a Facebook group. So then you look at all of the solutions that are available in terms of platforms. You've got Circle, Discord. There's loads of other platforms where you can put people. But then to get a huge migration of people.
Yeah.
When you've built an existing community somewhere, you've got to incentivize them to move across or give them a reason to move across, haven't you? Yeah. Which is the difficult part. So if I was doing it from scratch, I don't know. I think the answer would probably be no. I wouldn't do it as a Facebook group.
I think you've got to go and capture the attention elsewhere and then move on.
I don't think there's any right or wrong answer, but
yeah.
I definitely like the part of what you said. You take about what Lloyd has done in Whitebox Property and what Rob has done. How many years has it taken them to build their Facebook group
10 years,
to where they are now? So if you definitely want to be leveraging those groups.
Yeah.
To build your community first, I think.
And there are those big groups. So again, there's a Property Developers
Secrets.
There's Property Developers Secret. That's Lloyd and Andy's one. There's another Property Developers one, isn't there? I think there's a new build one which has got about 20,000 odd. Because I was in the property space, so I used to knock about in those quite a lot. But you are going to there will have to be an investment of your time massively. Whichever way you're going to do it, you're definitely going to have to spend quite a bit of time, because it's almost what I call hand-to-hand combat. You can only respond to one comment at a time, and maybe a community manager is somebody that you bring in early doors. But again, I would say lead with value in other people's platforms, and then get them to a platform that you own wholeheartedly. Like I say, Discord would maybe be a good fit. Is there a lot of property stuff on Discord, or is it more techie?
No.
Okay, let me rewind that. Discord wouldn't be a good fit, so don't bother doing that.
Not unless there was a tactical reason for needing to use Discord, like gating of content due to crypto, or NFT memberships where you need to. What Discord's really good for, the APIs interact with. You can use bots and stuff to gate the content so that you can give people access based on ownership of certain digital assets. But if you've got no need to do that, no.
No,
because
LinkedIn, I'd say as well. LinkedIn could be a really good one. Also, the other thing that a lot of people,
the cleanest one I've seen, but you need to, again, there needs to be a strategy behind it. Is Circle, the app Circle for building like as a community platform is really, really good. But you've got to, it's very clean, and it sort of functions a little bit like a Discord where you can create channels for various elements of conversation and stuff like that. So it looks really, really nice. There was no ability to build into it crypto gating and stuff, so that's why it was probably not featured in a conversation you and I have had off air for that reason. But if you was just wanting a simple community aspect of it, that's a really good platform, and you can integrate it into an iframe, which basically means you can put it into the back end of your website and stuff like that. So, and you can give people access to it via the web. So that's quite a good one. Yeah, I think if I was starting from scratch to try and attempt to build a community, I wouldn't do it on Facebook groups, personally.
So there you go, Mark.
But that's the right answer. But I wouldn't with the way the world is changing, and what I know a little bit about decentralization and that whole movement. I'd want them on my own platform as opposed to somebody else's.
100%. Give us a flash, gang, if you are on stage right now, if you've got an answer for Mark as well. If you've successfully built a community on a platform, maybe you've done it via your mailing list, or maybe you've done it on a third-party platform like a Facebook group. If you've had good success with it, and you can share a bit of an insight in this one. Melissa is flashing. We'll come to you, my friend.
Oh, such a good question. And before Mark asked this, I was sort of sitting there and I was listening to everybody sort of give their shares and their thoughts about community. And here's what I believe. And after building a community on Facebook for SUP Wales around paddleboarding, that is great. But it has taken a lot of time to get to where it is. And like you said, James, it's a lot of time investment. But obviously that's my brother runs that, and we started it together and got it to sort of like almost 8K people. But to keep that going long term, it is a lot of time and effort. But for my own business, I don't have a big community. I've attempted to start some couple of things sort of last year, but you've got to really ask yourself, because ultimately time is gold, right? The less of it you have, the more precious it is. And we're losing time every single day. Like, is it imperative to you get into that next step in your business? Because is that where your customers are coming from, or is it part of your long-term vision? Because is it essential to what you do? It's not necessarily essential to what I do, but here's what I do believe as an entrepreneur. You have to be in a community. We have to feel like we belong, because we are silos and we're islands out in the world doing what we're doing, and it can be quite a lonely place, especially when you've been part of a team before. So my advice, because there's probably people listening to this thinking, oh my gosh, I need to build a community, I need to go off on Facebook, I need to get a Discord, I need to build my own clubhouse room and all this stuff. But essentially, it's really about your business strategy and where your customers and your consumers are. If you believe that you can build it and there's room for it, and you really want to support and help people like you guys have done, and you've done a great job at this. The reason I keep coming back here, and the reason why I came in here in the first place, is because I was looking for something. I was looking to belong somewhere. I felt like, hang on a minute, there's a certain type of personality that, and not a lot of people around me are those types of people that have that drive and that sort of ambition and the understanding of what I'm actually doing. So yeah, so that's where I stand. I believe we need a community for ourselves to feel like we can belong and to connect and to grow together. I don't always believe that it is essential to build your business. So yeah, that's my take on it. Back to you.
Awesome stuff. Great share. Thank you very much. Right. Anybody else? I thought we had a couple of flashes for Mark. Anyone who's successfully built a community on a different platform or has been using a different space, maybe you used a mailing list or emails or whatever it may be. Give us a flash.
load of people in the chat. Lauren, Carol saying they use Circle. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, yeah. And Iffy also said there's a great book for building communities, which is called Tribes by Seth Godin. Anything by Seth Godin is good, so go and check out that as well. Awesome stuff. Right.
Talking of community, you've watched We Crashed?
Oh, my God.
How good is that? Brilliant, isn't it?
Where are you at?
I'm up to date on what was available. It's now released weekly.
I
isn't
know.
it?
I was furious. I went to sit and watch it last night. I was like, what? So We Crash is the story of WeWork. So the founder of WeWork is this like crazy enigmatic. Yes, on Apple TV. But it was a podcast. So it was originally a podcast.
Wondery were bought by Amazon. You said, didn't they?
Yeah, it's probably the same route that we'll go down eventually. Probably the same.
So they've done a really good sort of dramatized podcast.
Yes.
What's the word for it? There's a posh word for it that you use. Creative audio, or I don't know.
Oh, like narrative storytelling.
Narrative storytelling. Yeah. There we go. In audio forms on podcast, and it was a really good podcast. It's been out a couple of years, and it's really.
Did you
good.
listen to it?
Yeah, when it first came out, We Crashed, and it's been turned into a TV program on Apple TV Plus. But like if you're into business and entrepreneurship, it's phenomenal to watch. It's very correct as well. I read about it. They've done a hell of a lot of research. They actually hired 2 of the researchers that worked for WeWork to be the researchers on the program.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So their ex-PA, so the Newman's ex-PA is part of the research team.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
so that you can believe a lot of the stuff that's coming out in it is obviously a little bit dramatised, but correct. Yeah.
It's amazing though, isn't it? Anne Hathaway and Jared Leto play the two lead characters. Absolutely unbelievable. It's so weird, isn't it? Because he's so enigmatic and believable, and he's trying to build this community.
There was an interview with Anne Hathaway that I read, and she was saying that the reason because she's involved in the production, she's executive producer of it as well.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, and the reason that she got involved in the project, she said, is because she watched Fire, the documentary. You know, the Fire documentary, and she said she was just obsessed with finding out more about the human behaviour aspect of it, how people believe what convincing people tell them, or charismatic people tell them, basically. So because he just basically made up valuations, every day. He just made up the valuation for his business
and just said it with such authority. Everyone went, "Oh, okay, sure."
Was an expert communicator.
I've got to watch this.
And just spoke really well and was a really charismatic guy, or is a really, because he's a really charismatic guy, but just really over-egged the valuation of it. I think at the peak he said it was worth 47 billion. WeWork.
That's right, yeah.
And when they was about to do an IPO, and then obviously at some point someone started doing some due diligence to find out that it was actually valued at probably 7 billion at best.
Yeah, he dropped 40 billion in value in a day. It was Benchmark Capital who backed him as well. So a big VC firm, and not mugs. They know what they're doing. He just bamboozled everyone.
Yeah. Well, I had a VC firm might have been behind it.
I had a serviced office. It was you could see, for those in the inside of that industry. Well, in London, I know London's a very small market and they were global, but their behaviour in London that I saw. So I had a building on Gray's Inn Road, 60 Gray's Inn Road, about 75,000 square foot of office space that we was operating as serviced office and co-working at the time. And WeWork came in and they took the building about 4 doors along from us. Now that building had just been newly refurbished, and I knew the agent, and we'd made inquiries about that building, and it was obscene what the landlord wanted. Now, there wouldn't have been a big shift, because knowing who that landlord was and how they operated, there wouldn't have been a big shift in what they was asking for. Not a game-changing shift. You know, there might have been a little bit of a movement downwards from what they was advertising, but it wouldn't have been a monumental shift, regardless of who the tenant was or what the terms were. And they would have taken that at a top premium on a 20-year lease, that space. and then the way they do it is exactly the same as we all do it. They'll take a lease, they'll refurbish the space, they'll split it up, and then they'll get lots of smaller tenants to come in or sublet, basically just subletting the space under the banner of creating a community by making the office look nice and creating sort of shared services and shared accommodation, shared facilities and stuff like that, right? But that by my calculation, they were losing about 50 quid a foot annually on that space. That was by what I reckon they was, you know, and I'm not the most educated person in the world, but so and that was a repeated pattern of behaviour on every office space that they were taking across London. So because they was obsessed with having landmark buildings in landmark locations.
That's right, yeah.
But they would just been paying, and that's why they've not made money to date, have they? WeWork have not made a penny to date because their expenses are just so high. But they're signed into all of these leases on properties. Now, COVID helped them because I think they managed to get out of some of those over COVID in London. But they're signed up to so many long leases at extortionate rates just because they wanted this landmark building and just quickly wanted to grow their centres. And I don't know what their plan was. Maybe he thought that they could work it out over time and increase the rents, but they've just they've stuck in a model of paying that for so long.
Well, certain I think my pal had a serviced space with them on Fenchurch Street, and from when you come out of, I didn't know where he was. I come out of Fenchurch Street, typed in WeWork. There was 5 of them within a 5-minute walk.
Yeah,
fight, and like the whole buildings. I'm like, you can't possibly need. It's not like I think they kind of like adopted the McDonald's mentality, didn't they? We'll put one on every corner, and we'll just.
There was a joke. There was a joke for a couple of years in central London. If you was doing an office development or scheme, you'd just be building it for WeWork. WeWork would take it.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Before you even started it, like, WeWork would take that.
So you build it just to give it to them.
Yeah, they'll take that. Yeah, and you almost knew what they was going to pay.
Yeah.
But it's a good, really good program. Really, really good.
So have you just watched the episode where they have the festival?
Yes, just watch that one.
Right. So that's a great example of like what you're trying to build with a community, and then how it gets completely misconstrued. Because what they thought they were building, and actually the environment that they created for their staff was not the same as the perception that they were putting out in any way, shape, or form. Very interesting.
But the point of what really worked, the concept of WeWork is community, isn't it? Because as business owners, especially if you're starting, you're isolated from everybody else. Yeah. And it's the isolation that's the bit that really gets to you, and you're up against it from an isolation point of view, aren't you? So what worked with, well, we see it here on this particular floor where we've got there's 25 different offices on this floor, all smaller businesses, 2 or 3 employees in each office. COVID stopped it a little bit, but you've probably started to see it coming back. Conversations around the coffee machine, people sitting in the kitchen area, saying hello to people. It's that community feel. Although there's no tool here to cultivate community, it's just we've created a space and people feel the shared kitchen area. That sense of community in there is what people want to be in shared buildings for, and really helps.
Definitely. Well, hopefully we've given some useful insights to Mark on his question around it. Oh, also, sorry, Mark, just to wrap up that particular section. Where are we there? G. Williams said, I use Mighty Networks as a great platform, and you can link it out to Zoom. So that's a good platform to check out.
We looked at Mighty Networks before the app.
Yeah, I'd looked at Mighty Networks for a course before. I just couldn't make it. I just went with Kajabi in the end. That's got community tools built in within it, isn't it, as well, Kajabi?
Yes.
But again, very difficult to get people off platforms that they're already used to using. Anyway, let's move on. Let's have another question, shall we? Or another share. Give us a flash to Mike if you'd like to share this morning. Gang, we're talking about the power of community, and in about 18 minutes' time, we will have some of the gang from Breakfast with Champions come to join us. The founder, head honcho, Glenn Lundy, is going to be coming on to talk about the power of community, what he's done with the community that he's built up in the last sort of, I guess, 14, 15 months over the pond in the States. Danita is giving us a flash, so we'll go to you next. Midir, good morning. What say you on the subject of community?
Was that me you were coming to?
Yes, that's the. Let me just check down stage. Is there another Danita? No, my darling, there's not. It's just you, my babe.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, I've been listening in since 6:30 this morning.
Come on now, early bird.
I know. I couldn't talk earlier because it's really noisy where I am. it's really interesting. There's two things I wanted to share. One is, so I had, again, this is a bit woo-woo, but I had, like, you have these psychometric type tests and personality tests. So I had my human design done, which is all based on chakras and things like that. And one of the big things that came up was I am all about community. So that's where I excel. I excel when I'm around people, and yeah, there's this big thing around community with me. So that's why I'm always like FOMO if I'm missing out. Ashley knows this because it's like, oh my God, I better bring her up. Otherwise she's going to sit in a corner crying. But the other thing is with what I do with the LinkedIn, one of the things that I realized, sort of early on into the business was that if I didn't create a community, my clients wouldn't feel held accountable. And with social media, what tends to happen, especially when you're running workshops and things like that, is they come and learn everything, and it's all great, and they learn it all, and they're all excited, during the 2 or 3 days or however long they're with you, and then they fall off the bandwagon. So, you meet them 2 or 3 months later, and they're like, oh, it was really good, but I haven't had a chance to do anything, blah, blah, blah. So I did create a whole community. I started, doing accountability sessions and keeping them in and they're now in a WhatsApp group as well. So they have immediate access to me. And so, yeah, I've built the business around having a community, and I've literally just launched another part of it as well. But it's so important when you're, for the accountability part, both for myself, because then I want to make sure I stay ahead of the game as well, to be able to serve them, but also for them and for them to get the results, because obviously if they get the results, they make you look good as well. So for me, community has been a big part for my own kind of, fill my own cup, if you like, because I like people most of the time, and then also around holding them accountable so that they get the results, because otherwise what's the point of doing it if they come along and they learn something and then you never see them again and you never know whether they did any good. So yeah, back to you, James.
Awesome stuff. Thank you very much, my friend. Great share. Do you like the group function on LinkedIn? Do you use that very much? Because I know you sort of like do people use that in that kind of way to actually cultivate a community? Because I know sort of like big collectives of like property developers, there'll be like 50,000 of them in sort of like a club. Does anyone really, from what you've seen, because obviously you are the gangster of LinkedIn, I love the fact you've changed that on your bio, but does anyone actually use that in sort of like a genuine way to cultivate community, or is it just sort of somewhere they post their stuff when they can be bothered?
Yeah, I think in the beginning when groups came out on LinkedIn, it was a really big thing. And I remember having a group at that time. I was doing something different. So, and there are a few groups, especially those who did, build communities early on LinkedIn and had thousands and thousands of people, it wasn't just them posting, it was like everybody was getting involved. But obviously that's changed a lot because their group function really did deteriorate, and obviously Facebook was a lot better. But if you remember when Marcus Murphy was on, that was one of the questions I asked, and I'd heard rumors that they are going to be improving groups. So I've already told my client community that as soon as groups improve on LinkedIn, we'll be moving it over, because there's things like, on Facebook, you can at least stream into a private group. So therefore, if you've got a group for paid clients, you're able to keep it private, and you can't do that yet on LinkedIn. So once they improve it, I think it will be, especially with the whole social audio and all the things that's coming up on LinkedIn. I think there's going to be a really good way to harness a community on that platform. So I reckon watch this space for that, because I think they'll do a lot of good. It's just at the moment it's not quite there yet.
Good insights. I like it. I'll tell you what, talking about community, I think it's really interesting how certain platforms spot an opportunity within sort of a community that's maybe not their sort of prerequisite thing it was designed for. Like the reason I'm saying that, Twitter has basically become one long big Web3 stream, hasn't it?
It's even called Crypto Twitter now, isn't it?
Twitter. So I thought when the first couple of times there's that what's that podcast? It gets hundreds of thousands of downloads, but it's just literally a guy reading crypto.
Understanding Crypto?
No, that's a great podcast though. I think there's a new episode out today actually. If I checked, I think it's about layers of the blockchain. I think. I'm not sure. I might go and check in a minute. But no, there's that guy who does crypto news alerts. and this guy he basically just reads. Really, in a really strange way, frankly. He just reads crypto news.
I think it's an AI bot that reads it. I'm not sure if it's...
it's a human. I've checked. I've checked.
Sure.
And he's like, go on a crypto Twitter. And I'm like, where is crypto Twitter? I actually searched crypto Twitter. I just ended up on Twitter. I was like, oh, it's just Twitter. Gotcha. But yeah, so I wonder how, or like someone like a Twitter, for example, like spot that as the opportunity and go, right, we double down on that now. How you sort of like re-pivot, because like Facebook is not interested in, that community on Facebook is not interested in crypto. I haven't seen that much on.
I don't think Twitter
LinkedIn,
actually had anything to do with it. I think it was just the adopted platform that many people decided to use.
But now things like if you put Bitcoin, it will do the little symbols and stuff like that.
Okay.
And it actually, you can follow the hashtags a lot easier. And there's a lot of, if you look at like the stuff that's trending on there, it's all around that subject, frankly. Even like at the moment, there's how to make it as an NFT artist is running as a Twitter Spaces room. Now I get that, they look at opportunities like they saw what Clubhouse had done, was like, well, we need to get into the audio space. But I wonder how somewhere as big as like a Twitter, you're like, oh, this inadvertently our platforms become the adopted place for this conversation, and how they double down on it. We should find someone from Twitter and interview them.
Put the link at the top, Ash. Actually, we need some support from the community on our podcast to continue it on its journey onwards and upwards to beat the other crypto podcasts.
Still in the iTunes top charts, by the way. Don't want to brag.
So if you want to find out, if you're new to crypto actually, and you want to find out a little bit about it, find out what it's all about, listen to two Muppets, quite frankly, talk about crypto, then go and check out the podcast that Ashley's about to pin to the top of the room. If you pull down and refresh, pull to refresh. Remember you used to say that? PTR.
Yeah, PTR.
Not said that in a while, have we? If you PTR the screen, pull down to refresh, you'll see the link at the top. Feel free to jump on there and subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a little review, actually, as well. If you've listened to a few episodes and you like it, go on and leave a review for us, because it all helps.
We've had loads of
we're doing some good. Yeah. Thank you to everybody for continuing to support it. We've in some good positions in various global charts for business and investing. And it's we think it's a really good podcast for anyone that wants to try and understand crypto. We would think that because we've made it, but
I disagree. I've been involved in a few things like That's Pony. Like, I know it is, but this is actually really good. And in this week's episode, we talk about. And
actually, it's been approved for the radio, hasn't it?
It has.
That's exciting.
Big announcement, yeah. So the podcast is also going to be available on digital radio. So if you listen to podcast radio in London, Surrey, Manchester or Glasgow, if you've got digital radio, you can tune into podcast radio and you will hear that show on rotation.
Why did they pick their DAB digital licenses in that order?
There was probably...
It's very random. London, Surrey, Manchester, Glasgow.
You got what's called multiplexes. So they own the rights to the airwaves effectively, and they probably could just get a good deal on those. They probably just had spare. I don't know this for a fact. There's probably a radio station on there that went bust. So they've probably
picked up their
airwaves, basically, yeah.
Okay.
That's how it works. But yeah, so go check it out, or you can listen on digital radio. So you've made it. You're a radio presenter. Didn't want to be, but now you are.
James found his way back in.
What he hasn't said is probably played at 3 a.m. in the morning or something like that. The graveyard shift.
Irrelevant. Is it being played? Is it on the radio? Irrelevant.
Is it there? Yes or no? That's what
I can now go back and have that fight with that guy who said that was no good on the radio, and I can go, would you like to listen to my show? Oh, hello, who's that? You're right.
Is it me you're looking for?
Oh, of course it was.
I was saying hello to my husband who just walked into the kitchen.
It sounds like you're talking to a small kitten. Is that how you... That's a very nice way to start the day. Hello.
No, you know what it is? I've been doing a plank. I've been flashing a...
You've been flashing your plank, and then your husband walks in.
7 minutes. I've been holding this plank for 7 minutes and flashing at the same time.
Shut up, you've held a plank for 7 minutes.
I have.
No, you haven't. Show me evidence.
Honest to God, I have.
Is it a plank of wood you've been holding?
I've been flashing at the same time as doing my bloody plank.
Flashing and planking. Go on, give us a share then. What a way to announce yourself onto the scene, quite frankly.
Planking.
So that was public proof that we was just chatting nonsense because somebody's actually just felt the need to interrupt us.
It took. My arms were starting to shake. And I was thinking, oh my God, where can I... So luckily my husband saved me by walking into the kitchen, and I was
Goddamn hero. Goddamn handsome hero.
He is my hero. Anyway, I would like to make a share actually because last night actually I went to the first TEDx Lewisham talk actually, which was great. Talking about community. It was very relevant because all the speakers, there was about 10 speakers there, and they were all local people. So it's very community based. And that's what this lady Rachel wants to do. Rather than getting big speakers in from all over the place, she wants to make it community based. And it was so good. It was just so interesting. But one of the speakers that was on there, her subject was, if ants can, we can. So she was talking, it was very interesting because she was talking about how ants work in communities. And the queen ant will lead the other ants to wherever they want to go, whatever they need to do. And they will also, between leaves, they will create bridges to get from one place to another. So I thought, and that's what her talk was about. She was like, if ants can do it, so can we as a community. So I just thought it was very relevant, actually, as you were talking about community this morning. So if ants can, we can. That's me, Zahida. I'm done speaking.
You getting back to planking now? You done?
I'm done now, thanks.
Done
My
now.
arms are like wrecked now. I have to rest now.
Your plank should be working your core, not your arms. I think someone needs to check on how you're planking. I think you're planking all over the gaff in the wrong way.
Like, I've actually done a 52-minute plank. Just saying.
Are you mistaking planking for standing up straight? Are you thinking of a pencil dive here?
Leaning on the wall with your position.
Yeah, maybe that's right. No, you know what?
That's serious. That's serious.
I couldn't do 1 minute 45 seconds yesterday.
I want to prove it. Right, you can come into the studio next week. We've got a green room through the window, and you can do a plank in the room next door.
I don't know if we're able to do 52 minutes now, but this all started a few years ago when we went on a family holiday, and my 24-year-old nephew, he likes to think he's quite fit and healthy, so I sort of challenged him to plank. So he said, "All right, fine. I'm happy to challenge you." And so did my my niece's husband, who's 30. So there's a 24-year-old, 30-year-old, and I was 52 at the time. So anyway, so I challenged him to plank, and guess who beat the boys? The 52-year-old woman. Yeah, at that time I did 2.5 minutes, and neither of them could keep up with me. So anyway, so I set myself a goal that year, because I was 52, so I thought, I'm going to see if I can do a 52-minute plank. And I bloody well did it. Pardon the language. So I sent them a photo and said, guys, next time we're on a family holiday, 52 minutes is a target, I'm afraid. Yeah. So we're going away in July this year. And I have said to my nephew, I've said, the plank challenge is on again, guys, so get working. So that's how it all came about.
There you go, Queen of Planking.
I'm working myself up to 52 minutes again now.
The Queen of Plank. How was the TEDx event? I didn't know they did one in Lewisham.
It's the first one. No, it was really, really good. Absolutely brilliant, actually. There was some people. I mean, there's this one guy on there. He's, oh, God, how old is he? He must be about 29 now, I think. And he was amazing. He's got a tracheostomy. And he was talking about how people with disabilities are forgotten or ignored. And he said, he's got this tracheostomy, and obviously the way he talks is not like everybody else will talk. And he was saying how, even when he ended up getting a job in the civil service, and even in the civil service, he was saying that you kind are invisible, and he had to request a few things, as sort of sick leave and that, and he kept getting told no. And so what he's doing now, he is, let me just have a look at my leaflet to tell you what he calls himself. His name is Nana, and his talk was called Muted. But what he wants to say is, no, I'm not going to stay muted now. I have a voice. So he calls himself the unique voice. So it was really, really interesting. If they do have another one, James, I would definitely recommend going to. Anyway, I went with Amy, actually. James, you know Amy Rowlingson. She invited me along. And I said to her when I walked out, because obviously in TEDx they have a red circle where you stand and speak. And I said to her, I'm going to be on that red circle. I tell you, guaranteed, I'm going to be there talking. So there you go. Anyway, that's Zahida, done speaking.
Good goal. I reckon you should go on, talk about the benefits and the power of oral hygiene while doing a plank. Has anyone ever TEDx
boring.
planked at TEDx? Don't think they
No,
have.
I've got better things to talk about.
Fair enough. But whatever you do, I think you should plank it. From now on, you'll be known affectionately in our gang as Zahida the Planker. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, you planked for 52 minutes at 52 years old. We should, we call Danita the gangster of LinkedIn. We just say it as we see it. So you're officially the planker. Awesome stuff. Right, thank you for your share. Right, shall we have a fancy, flashy jingle reset because it is nearly 8 o'clock. And after that point, we will be bringing in our good pal Glenn Lundy to talk about the power of community, talking about what they're up to over the pond in the United States of America with Breakfast with Champions. We'll be back after this fancy jingle reset, which is playing now.
You are listening to Breakfast with Winners. Exclusive content, direct from the Winners Club. If you are enjoying the conversation, click on the green Monopoly house at the top of the screen right now and join the thousands of winners already in our community. For even more actionable content and powerful lessons, download the free companion app now. Just search for the Winners Club in the App Store or Google Play. For more information about the Winners Club and how to become part of our growing community, head to thewinnersclub.club. Now, back to the show.
And we're back. Welcome back live to Clubhouse. Coming to you live from London. I don't know why I've started speaking like this. I feel like I've got to carry it on now, though. We're live in London. It's 8:01 in the morning here in Ilford, which is just a little bit behind normal London time, but we're very excited today because we are talking about all things related to building a community. Obviously, we've done some bits. We've done some stuff here within the Winners Club. We've done some bits here on the platform within Breakfast with Winners, which is one of our shows within the Winners Club. But we've got to be honest, guys, right? Got to be honest. Breakfast with Winners was basically Ashley Shipman's brainchild after he spotted that Breakfast with Champions was so successful in the United States. And Ashley's a big fan of it. If it ain't broke, why try and fix it, quite frankly? Guys, if you want to listen, if you want to watch this conversation as well as listen, you can click the link at the top of the screen right now. PTR, pull to refresh. I haven't said that for months and I haven't said it twice in a day, but there you go. We're on YouTube as well. Glenn is also joining us on YouTube, which we're very excited about this morning. So yes, when Clubhouse first kicked off and no one really knew what was going on, Glenn and the gang with Breakfast with Champions was one of the first sort of collaboratives or cohorts who got their stuff together quickly. And
basically, they're a far better version than we are.
Yeah, so we copied it. Why not? If something's working, let's just nick the concept and copy it. So exactly what we did. And I think you actually reached out to Glendon. You said, if you're going to be Breakfast with Champions, can I be Breakfast with Winners? And I'll just hand people over to you at 9 o'clock. And he's like, yeah, cool. So that's how the bromance between the two of us actually first started. So Glenn Lundy, all the way from the United States of America. Good morning, my friend. How the devil are you, sir? Oh, we are getting visuals, but we are not getting audio.
Let's just check. Glenn, can you hear us? Can you start again?
Yeah, I can hear you.
There we go. We've got you now. We've got you.
We got you. Awesome stuff. Well, good morning, my friend.
So, you guys can hear me. Do you need me to pop into Clubhouse too?
Yeah, pop in.
Yeah. You can do if you want to. I think everyone knows who you are, to be fair. We're probably not going to bring you many more followers on Clubhouse this morning than you've already got, to be brutally honest. But
pop in.
You can do. Pop in and mute your mic. But awesome. So tell us where you started. You were one of the the OGs of the Clubhouse. We're talking this morning about community. You were one of the first people who sort of empowered a community and built a sort of a brand around just turning up consistently and persistently within Clubhouse. So tell us, what was the origin story of Breakfast with Champions? Because I know you had already got a really successful and mega popular Rise and Grind show on Facebook. So did you sort of just pivot that sort of community over to a new place effectively?
Well, it was a new community, but it was just the same principles, right? Same principles of the show. So the principles that I was using for my show, #Rise and Grind, was, I was following the equation of frequency plus proximity equals affinity. So I was showing up every morning, 5:30 a.m., bringing motivation, education, inspiration, right? And so I wanted to make sure to do the same thing when we went over to Clubhouse. I knew that if we showed up at least 5 days a week, bringing motivation, education, and inspiration first thing in the morning, that we'd get a result. And so we went ahead and pulled that from just that principle that was working for me on Rise and Grind, we started doing that on Breakfast with Champions. So it was a new audience, but it was the same concept as what I had already been doing for 3 years over on Facebook.
Gotcha. So with Rise and Grind, you already had that community there. You, like I say, you showed up to give inspiration, motivation, aspiration, just sort of help people to sort of guide them to start their day in the right way. How did that whole like Rise and Grind thing start in the first place? How did you end up being committed to at 5 o'clock in the morning every day, being the guy who was going to deliver the content for people?
Yeah, so Rise and Grind came from an itch. Like, it was a real itch. Colin Kaepernick had just started kneeling on the football field, and everything in my social media feed was just negative. It was negativity, it was division, and it was really starting to bother me, right? It was starting to bother me. There was so much negativity in my feed. And so I was like, man, what can we do about this, right? Like, I know I can't solve this. I can't rid the world of negativity, but what can we do, right? And I'm a firm believer, man, when there's things in your life that are just really bothering you, not like, oh, I don't like that, and then you just move on with your life, but when it's starting to really bother you, I'm a firm believer that's like an itch you need to scratch, right? You got to do something about that. That's a sign. That's a signal. That's the universe saying, hey, come over here, right? And so I knew I couldn't rid the world of negativity, but I thought if I could create a safe space where people could come for motivation, education, inspiration, there would never be any politics. There would never be any division. There would never be anything negative whatsoever. If I could create that little tiny piece, then at least people would have a choice and they could choose to spend time in that environment instead of the other environments that are out there. And that's really where hashtag Rise and Grind came from, is I decided to do that. I did it at 5:30 a.m. because I think I had 6 kids at the time. I've got like 8 kids now. Maybe I had 5 kids at the time. I either had 5 or 6 kids. So I couldn't do it any later because kids start waking up. Like, I had to find a time where I knew nothing would ever get in the way, right? If I make a commitment, I want to make sure nothing's going to get in the way of that commitment. So 5:30 a.m. Monday through Friday. It started in my utility closet. While I was in the utility closet, hollering, good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you, my friend? And then my wife was like, dude, you need to get the heck out of the house. So now we have the full Rise and Grind studio, which is where I am now, which is about 15 minutes from the house. And yeah, man, that's where it all came from.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, I wonder with 6 kids how long it was going to be until somebody in the house was like, dude, you can't be shouting good morning at 5:30 because you are ruining everybody else's good morning. So the Rise and Grind community was already sort of up and running. What did you spot within the opportunity of Clubhouse? Because I know for you personally, the events that you've sort of been putting on and the community that you've been able to build, so that you're already out there creating, but this is probably accelerated at the very least with Clubhouse. What was it that you spotted within Clubhouse? You're like, oh, this is new and fresh and interesting. And how did you sort of double down on that? Because obviously, we all know, those of us who are OGs, we weren't even the OGs, were we? We were sort of like quite early to it, but a lot of people have come and gone. So what was it you spotted in the first place, and how have you, how do you keep making it worth doing when, so many people and big profiles have sort of tested it, flapped it and left?
So the biggest thing for me is, Clubhouse is global. So most other apps, you have to put in your zip code. And so like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of these things, right? They take your zip code, and the majority of the content that you're going to receive and that people are going to see is it's located geographically, right? So whatever your zip code is, you're going to get more content from that particular area, and your content's going to get served in that area. Whereas Clubhouse, what's special about Clubhouse is it doesn't give a dang where you are, right? It don't matter. Like, it can feed our room into Australia, into London, into India, into Africa, right? And so that part to me was really fascinating, how Clubhouse unlocked the world and we were able to create relationships on a global scale versus just a local scale. You know, if you look at anything global is tremendous opportunity, right? Like, if you look at Will Smith's career, the very first thing he did when he was like, I want to be the biggest movie star in the world, is he had Arnold Schwarzenegger and one other guy. He said, what is the key to becoming the biggest movie star in the world? And they told him, you have to go global. Like, get out of America, go global, right? So if you look at the largest music artists, the biggest movie star artists, like, even look at cryptocurrency. Why is it I can go on to OpenSea right now and I can see a $300,000 transaction on a Bored Ape, and then another 250, and then another 325, and then another 200, all like in the last 12 minutes. You're like, where are the people getting all this money? It's because it's freaking global. It's a global currency. So anything global, just like more than 10x, it like 1,000x is your opportunity. And so that's what to me was so attractive on Clubhouse, is that global reach, to be able to reach guys like you, which, by the way, you guys look way better than I ever imagined. Just listening to your voice, I never knew you guys could be such good looking guys. I'm just saying. But now that I've seen your face, you guys are an attractive crew, man. Good looking guys this morning. But I never would have been able to reach you if it wasn't for the fact that Clubhouse does not, it has no prejudice to your zip code. And that to me was fascinating.
So we've obviously ourselves as a gang and as a collective and as a group, and I guess us as Clubhouse users as a bigger collective have obviously had to work out how to make this app work, because it's almost like we got given the tools to create half talk radio, half podcast, half conversation, but none of the guidelines or the rule book on how to make this thing work. It's almost like, here's some social audio. We'll call it social audio, and we'll just chuck it out there, and we'll see what happens, and we'll see what sticks. You are someone who has pivoted and created, structure and community and consistency around what you've made and that community that you've built. Walk us sort of through the Clubhouse journey that you've been on, because obviously we all started with 0 followers on one day, jumping on to listen to other rooms. That's how all of us started. Some of us have created big brands and big communities and big, we're here every single day, 6:30 till 9. I know you are early doors in the States as well. You've now got sort of moderators and speakers and experts, and it's almost like a broadcast format, and there's a structure to the production of it. What's been the evolution journey of Breakfast with Champions? 'Cause I'm really intrigued by how it's come to be the sort of the behemoth that it is now.
Yeah, man. So originally, I sent an email out to a bunch of. Well, first I went onto the app. I don't even remember who told me to get on the app. Somebody sent me a message like, "Hey, you seen this Clubhouse thing?" And I'm like, "Nah, what the heck is that?" They're like, "Social audio." I'm like, "What the hell is social audio? I don't even know what social audio means." And the last thing I need is another app. Are you kidding me? Like, you guys want me to dance on TikTok? You want me to post on a Facebook business page, a Facebook group page, a Facebook personal page? Then you want me to go onto YouTube? Then you want me to go onto LinkedIn? And then you're telling me I have to do Instagram, but I also have to do Instagram stories. I can't just do Instagram pages. And now you want me to go on some stinking social audio app? Like, dude, I can't do this. Can I please just run my business? That's what I would like to do. Will anybody please just let me run my business? Can I please just go to work like I used to, right, 30 years ago? But I looked at it, and I don't know if that was the greatest blessing I've had over the last 15 months or if it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. I don't know, but one way or another. It completely changed my life, man. I got into the app on a Friday. I remember logging in on a Friday night, and I was instantly fascinated. I was captivated. I couldn't log off, man. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm in a room with Grant Cardone. I'm in a room with Tyrese. I'm in a room with Tiffany Haddish. Like I can't get off. I'm gonna miss something. Like I can't, right? And so then Saturday rolled around, and my kids are like, "Dad, can we eat some breakfast?" I'm like, "Dad's working. Get out of here. Don't talk to me. I'm busy, right?" I don't know how many miles I put on the Peloton that day, dude. Like, I must have rode like a couple 100 miles on the Peloton because I'm like, I'm working out. I'm working. Like, my wife's like, "Are you coming up?" I'm like, "No, not today. Like, Daddy's got to go. I'm diving deep into some stuff right here. This is real serious business, right?" And I literally was on that app nonstop. Like, I was prepared to divorce my wife and abandon my children before I was going to get off of that app. I couldn't get off. It's crazy, man. And so that whole time, though, I was just like learning. Like, what is working? What is this? Why is this? Why are these people here? What is it about this that's so freaking? Why am I instantly addicted? Like, what is it, right? I gotta figure this thing out. And so I was in a room. There's a guy named L and his wife, Ashley Wilkerson, and they used to have a room. It was a welcome room, and people would come into the room, and they would go, like, you would wait in line, wait in queue, and then once it was your turn, they would literally go through your profile, your Clubhouse profile, and they would tell you what to change and how, put your business here, put your Instagram link here. And you want to be able to be searchable, right? Like, if somebody searches for breakfast, you should be the first person to pop up, right? And there's ways that you can change the first words. Like, they literally walked everybody through how to build your bio, and then they click on your Instagram and give you tips on your Instagram. And so I just sat there in line waiting in queue for 16 hours to ask them a question.
16 hours.
And on Sunday morning, literally 16 hours. So Sunday morning, it was my turn to ask a question. And I said, "Hey, L, I got this show called Rise and Grind that I've been doing. I do it every day, 5:30 in the morning till 6 in the morning. What should I do over here? Like, what do you think I should do? Should I stream the show into Clubhouse? What should I do?" I just didn't know. And by then my profile was all blinged out because I'd been listening to everybody else and making all the tweaks and adjustments. And he said, him and I talked about it. And he said, "You should do your show like you normally do, but you should stream it into Clubhouse. And then you should do an after show on Clubhouse to where people can now ask you questions and you can talk about whatever it is you just talked about on the show." And I was like, "Oh, that's a good idea." So then I sent an email to my friends, and I sent an email to Grant Cardone. I sent an email to my friend Liza Myers-Borges. I sent an email to my friend Brian Benstock, Scott Simons, like all my friends, people that have been on my show, anybody that had been on my show. I sent them an email and I said, "We have an opportunity to really make an impact in people's lives around the world and dominate on this app called Clubhouse. If you want to be a part of it, join me. I'm going to start tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. And I sent that email to all my people. And I didn't know who was going to respond or who was going to whatever. But that Monday, I opened my first room, and the first person to jump into my room was Grant Cardone. He was the very first person. And my room popped to 2,400 people, right? Because back in the early days, it was crazy, bro. So the room popped to 2,400 people, like right out the gate. And I was like, "Holy crap, I've been doing shows on Facebook for 4 years. And I never had a freaking pop to 2,400 people live all at one time. Are you freaking kidding me?" And from there, man, it's just been this evolution of, okay, we're going to do this for an hour. Okay, let's do this for 2 hours. Okay, let's do this for 5 hours. Let's do this for 6 hours. At one point, we were doing it for, at one point, we were going from 5 a.m. till 7 o'clock at night, 14 hours. Then we backed it back down to 6 hours. Now we're at 8 hours. Like, we're just, it's just been this ever evolving thing. And we've met a lot of different people in the process, a lot of energies. There's like some crazy people that like copied us. They did their own show like over in different parts of the world. They're like, hey, we'll just
those guys
with type thing. We just copy the whole concept. Like, it's just been this crazy thing, right? And yeah, it's ever evolving, and it's been great. And we've been able to connect with a lot of people. Obviously, we got quite a few followers now, and I'm actually really excited because Clubhouse is been talking a lot about changing the interactions that we can have with people in our club. So I'm super excited that as soon as, we used to have to apply to get a club. You couldn't just get a club. So we applied to get a club right out the gate. We got approved for the club. We've been building the club, and now I'm excited that they're going to release some tools that are going to allow us to really tap into that community. But every day we just try to figure it out and learn, man. Just try to align with the right people. Go out there and make an impact. We ride the waves. Sometimes it's great and exciting. Other times it's a little frustrating, but it's just like anything. It's just a baby. We look at it like we're a startup company. We've been in business for a year, and we've done pretty well in this first year. Now we're going to keep rocking and rolling and see what we can build moving forward,
Yeah, it's been awesome to see what you've built. And how do you, I'm really intrigued, how do you sort of organise like the governance of it? Because I know you've got a lot of people who come in and they sort of like they run rooms now. Like we used to have sort of moderators who take sort of key subjects for us, and you're like say you're testing out different show lengths and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, a community, the power of community is this sort of the collective wisdom and the collective force of all of those people together. But a community or a movement needs someone to drive it in a certain direction. So how did you sort of like build almost like a C-suite team of social audio people to go, right, that's the right direction, that's the wrong direction, so that ultimately you were the guy who founded it, you were the guy who created it, you are going to be the figurehead of it, and you're the guy who's known for it. But how can you sort of benefit from the collective wisdom without there being a split? Because effectively everyone comes to the party wanting their own sort of beneficial outcome. How do you juxtapose building a big community with driving it in a certain direction that you know to be right for it?
Yeah, so we just have a couple, and we've tried all kinds of different things, right? And anybody, if you ask any of the Breakfast with Champions people, what they'll tell you is I'm like the least organized, worst communicating person ever when it comes to this particular thing, right? Like, I am not type A, I'm not Mr. Excel sheet, I'm not like, that's not me, right? Like, I'm the vision caster, I'm the talent, right? Like, just show me where the mic is and where the lights are, and I'll show up, right? And so at first it was just kind of like, I shoot a text out like 5 minutes before. I'm like, hey, Ashley, can you jump on? Like, and then if you said no, I text somebody else 4 minutes before, and then 3 minutes before, and then 2 minutes before. And if everybody said no, it'd just be me, right? Golly, for the first 90 days, I was on every single minute, of that first 90 days as we were building it. But what ended up happening, and this is what happens when you create amazing spaces, is the pieces of the puzzle started to come together, and we had people that came into our world that started to take on those things that we were weak in, right? And so, like, even right now, and it's been a couple different people over the years. We had Sarah for a little while, Sarah McCord, that really took on a role of keeping everything organized and systematic and making sure people were in place and creating Instagram pages and websites and all of those things. Right now, Dora Maria does a phenomenal job of making sure that I'm doing the things I'm supposed to be doing. She's like, hey, Glenn, you got to add so-and-so to the thing. She's on top of it. But really, the community itself has has kind of governed itself and kept everything going. I basically told them like 2 rules, literally 2 rules, because they, it gets crazy when you deal with a bunch of people, by the way. Everybody wants different rules. Everybody wants it a different way. And I'm just like, here's the 2 rules. Rule number 1, our show is PG-12. All right. It's PG-12. So what does that mean? That means that if you let the word shit come out every once in a while, you're okay. Other than that, we don't cuss on Breakfast with Champions. And why is that? Well, because there's negative energy around some of those words. There's kids that are listening in people's cars. And so if you can't say it in like a Disney movie or on the Disney Channel, you can't really say it in my room. Like, other than that, rule number 2 is just be you. Like, be you. When you have a segment on Breakfast with Champions, and in the beginning, a lot of people would say, well, Glenn, what should I talk about? How do you want me to run my segment? How should I do my show? What should I do? What should I do? I'm like, it's your show. Like, Breakfast with Champions is a network. That's how I look at it. Breakfast with Champions is a network. It's not a show. It's a network. You have a show, whoever you are, right? You have a show. And what you want to do in your show, do whatever the heck you want to do. It's your show. Just don't cuss at people and make sure everybody gets a seat at the table. You know what I mean? And so we have got it to where it's at now through a whole lot of incredible people that have stepped up and said, hey, you know what? We own this. Like, they've taken ownership of it. Glenn started it, but we own it. And if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for those amazing people that have dedicated literally the last 15 months of their life, or for some, it's the last 6 months of their life, or whatever, if it wasn't for them, there's no way we would have been able to do what it is that we do now.
What's final question from us, and then we'll chuck it out to the community, because I know there'll be a load of people that want to ask you some questions if you're right for sort of 30 minutes or so for Q&A. But what comes next in the evolution of Breakfast with Champions? You guys, with a big active community, I guess the Web3 world is offering lots of exciting opportunities to you. I saw that you do some live events, some very cool speakers. So it's more live and in person stuff. I'm basically just trying to find out what you're going to do next, so that Ashley doesn't have to copy it too far. I'm trying to get the jump on it so that Ashley can get ready for copying you again, basically. So if you could give us the roadmap, that'd be great.
Well, one of the things that's next that I'm super excited about is over here in the United States, they just decided to get rid of daylight savings, right? So the time's not going to change anymore. So you guys are going to be able to run right into Breakfast with Champions now going forward. Like, we had that, you know how half the year we're like 2 hours apart and the other half of the year we're like whatever. So now we're just going to be right back to back. So you guys can run till 5, and we'll take it from there. What's next is we are going to continue to seek opportunities to help people change the way they start their day. Like, I know that sometimes it sounds a little crazy, but I believe if you change the way you start your day, it'd make a massive impact in your life. And I believe that if the whole world, if everybody in the world woke up and instead of turning on news, violence, politics, negativity, like, instead of going into that space, I imagine what the world would look like, right? If everybody woke up and the first thing they did was write down the things that they're thankful for, and then write down their goals and take care of themselves physically, and really like tap into mind, body, spirit in a positive way, and avoid all of those negative spaces. The world would be so amazing, man. Like, if everybody started with some positivity every day, the world would be a better place. And so we are going to continue to evolve. We're going to look at whatever technology is coming out. We're going to look at whatever the trends are. We're going to look at whatever is being created, and we're going to position ourselves in a place to reach as many people as humanly possible and help them change the way they start their day. Like, that's literally the business plan. The business plan is whatever we have to do to reach more people and help them change the way they start their day, we'll do that. If we got to go out into the metaverse, we'll go out into the metaverse. If they give us new tools on our club, we'll use those new tools on our club. If we got to travel around the world, do live events, we'll travel around the world, do live events. Like, whatever we got to do, because I just think the world would be a better place if they all started in Breakfast with Winners, followed by Breakfast with Champions each day.
That would be a good joint event, wouldn't it? Where's geographically in the middle of both of us, the middle of the
Middle
ocean?
of the sea, yeah. Oil rig? Anyone done an event on an oil rig? Never been done before.
Maybe Grant can find a boat for us or something. Glenn
Yeah,
can
I'm
tap
sure
him
he
up and
can.
lend us a boat or
Yeah,
something.
sure he can. Right, let's go to thank you, Glenn, for your time so far. I know that we've got a load of people who are big fans of what you do over on Breakfast with Champions. Loads of people that would probably love to ask you a question. Maybe they haven't been able to ask it in your own room. So we'll give people the opportunity now. So guys, if you're in the room right now, if you're listening, please feel free to give a flash to the mic. If you've got a question that you would love to ask to Glenn, he's the creator of one of the most impactful communities on the whole of social audio, which again was a thing that 15 months ago none of us had ever frankly said, let alone turned it into a big community. And
We're a bit like Glenn, we're still trying to work out if it was a good thing.
Yeah, some days great, some days well. Glenn must have had to get up at like 3 to do this, because this is 4, isn't it, for him?
It's 4 a.m.
This is going to be one of the bad days of social audio, isn't it, I reckon? Right, so if you are in the audience right now, if you'd like to ask a question to Glenn, please feel free to give us a flash of the mic and we will forward your questions on to Glenn. Right, we've got AD, we've got Sophia. I'm going to write a little list down. Sarah. In fact, do you know what?
It's lighting up like a Christmas tree.
Light up like a Christmas tree. Can you write this down? Can someone take a note of this?
There's your problem right away. You've asked Ashley to write something down.
True.
That is immediately an issue.
With no pen, no pad, nothing in front of me.
That studio, you guys' studio looks dope over there. Is that like a studio that you guys rent out, or is that a studio that you guys built?
No, we built it specifically for specifically for Clubhouse. It was a podcast studio previously, but now it's specifically fit for purpose.
Paul's got a mild addiction to buying expensive technical equipment, so every time we come in, there's just another camera or another microphone or some more like mic arms or something like that. So
yeah, I love it.
Well, when you come on the world tour, you can come here to. Glenn? Have you ever been to Ilford?
I have not.
Glenn's face said it all there.
I tell you
where the hell is Ilford? He was saying to himself.
So you've got like the glamorous bit of London, then you've got the sort of the outer bit of London, then you've got like the real rough bit of London, and we're just a bit further out from that. So when you come over on the Breakfast with Champions World Tour, you can come to Ilford.
Don't worry, we'll get a car, and you can wherever you're staying, you can walk in the car. And
we'll protect you from the door to the studio and then back.
You said Stephen's coming in a couple of weeks, isn't he? Over to see us.
Yeah, Stephen Kuhn.
Yeah, Stephen's coming.
Awesome stuff. Right, we've got some.
Man, I'd love to come out there sometime. But Paul, I need you to come. Paul, I need you to come here to my studio, man. I got all kinds of little glitches and whatnot in my setup, and I don't know how to fix this stuff. So I need you to come. You just come, and I'll give you the Amex, and you just turn this into a dope studio.
You talk about journeys that we probably had the similar one. First of all, we bought a Rodecaster Pro and then tried to work out you needed a special lead to make it work between the phone, and didn't know what that lead was. So the first show we ever done, we was holding the headphone to the microphone to play music into the microphone because we couldn't work out how to get that working. And then you try to plug in cameras.
I remember Ashley sending me messages. It's like, what do you do? How do I do this? How do we do that? How do we do that?
Then you try to
TSSR cable. TSSR.
That's it. Then we're trying to get the cameras to work, and then a broadcast suite like this.
Where's it got to now, though? Tell the truth. Where's it got to now? What was the latest iteration of what?
The latest one we was trying to do. We were trying to work out a way, Glenn, of taking the TRRS out the back of the Rodecaster Pro. Sorry for the listeners if this is getting a bit too technical, but Glenn will understand this. We was trying to take the TRRS out. We actually paid an Audio Pro cable manufacturer to manufacture a cable that basically turns that cable into a splitter box to then allow us to go out across different social audio platforms simultaneously. So you could effectively plug in 5 different handsets into the Rodecaster Pro and have them simultaneously stream out across other social audio spaces. The experiment failed. We haven't cracked
fun,
it.
Though, wasn't it?
We haven't cracked it yet, but it was good fun. Somebody made a few £100 in an order to make a custom cable, which is now scrap metal. But
so you were trying to take audio out of the Rodecaster into like Twitter Spaces and like all the social audio,
all of those, but not just the audio. Bring the microphone back, so bring the signal back, so somebody in Twitter Spaces could talk to somebody in Clubhouse.
Yeah, that's interesting.
For anyone not watching the YouTube, Glenn's face is thinking about it. Yeah, we've been thinking about it for weeks, and there's all sorts of diagrams.
We've had
sketches.
a £1,000 mixing desk that's normally used for big radio stations. That didn't work. We bought a cheap cable. We bought 5 cables. You tried to solder a cable.
Yeah,
we had an engineering company make us a cable.
Is it gonna boil down to?
There's a few $1,000 been spent in the experiment so far. I know that much.
Is it gonna boil down to one little lead again? Because I remember the whole studio.
No, what we actually need, we need somebody from Rode. What Rode are missing something here. What we need basically an extended professional version of the Rodecaster Pro with multiple TRRSs on it, and then multiple mix. You know, on the TRRS, you've got the mobile phone input, haven't you? The TRRS. We need another 4 or 5 of those on the same desk, and that would be the perfect solution.
We have reached out to a manufacturer about it, to be fair, because Rodecaster has exploded in popularity, and there's a company called Zoom who makes some very good audio equipment, but they haven't quite captured that marketplace, and they've got something called the P4. So I've pitched them on the P12. Said, your P4 doesn't quite go far enough. This is how you're going to catch up with Rodecaster. I sent that email 2 weeks ago, and
no reply.
No reply so far.
Right, should we take some questions?
You guys gotta let me know how that goes. I haven't gone out into the other spaces yet. I know that there's some opportunity over there, but I just haven't. Like, I don't feel like we're done yet on Clubhouse. Like, I don't feel like I don't feel like we've perfected what we're doing on Clubhouse, and so I don't want to stretch. Like, we're already stretched to get done what we're getting done. But that would be fascinating if the audio feed was going out.
It literally looks like a baddie out of a film, plotting evil, rubbing his chin. Yeah. The feedback we've had from people who are already out there doing this stuff.
Let me know what you guys figure out there. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, 100%. The feedback we've had is that Twitter, very much like social media platforms, that these individual spaces run very differently. Like a conversation you hear on Twitter Spaces is very different from how a Clubhouse room runs, which would be different from a green room. I think that's already dead in the water, that one, isn't it, frankly? Or how a LinkedIn Live is working, or LinkedIn audio room. So I guess you have to be mindful of that. But yeah, if we crack the technical code, we will definitely let you know. As our way of repaying the fact we've just basically copied your entire model, we will let you know which cable you need to buy, and that'll make us square, all right? Then we're even.
Would that be fair, Glenn?
Totally, 100%. I mean, you guys didn't copy us at all. I mean, yours clearly says winners, and mine clearly says champions. I mean, they're clearly two completely different.
I can't see no correlation.
Right, let's go to some questions then, because we've got loads of people who want to ask Glenn a question. We're going to go to AD, Sophia, Jagdeep, and Sarah to start with, and then we'll see if we've got time for any more. That might be us done and dusted.
Before we do it, just a reminder that Glenn is on live stream, so if you go to the link at the top of the room, you can watch the YouTube visual as well. So, yeah, pop
awesome.
Up to the top there.
Right, AD, question coming to you. Go for it, my friend.
Okay, good morning to everyone. Glenn, you have built an amazing team that for the listeners and the ordinary people in the room, it seems like it's flowing seamlessly from one person to the other. So I'm curious in terms of wanting to understand, how have you managed the different personalities and helped to keep them walking in unity and flowing with the vision that you cast? That's my question to you.
Yeah, great question. And I appreciate you spending this time with us this morning, for choosing to be here with us. this morning here in Breakfast with Winners. You know, I think it's a combination of two things. One is I have gotten out of the way as much as humanly possible, right? Like everyone that helps moderate in Breakfast with Champions understands that they are empowered to make the decisions they need to make sure that the experience for the audience is incredible, right? So don't wait on Glenn, or don't wait on permission, or don't wait on any of those things. And so I think that that's been a real big part of what's made it spectacular is everyone knows that they are trusted. They are a trusted member of our community. If they have a segment, if they are getting that green badge, they just know that we trust them to make good decisions. And so that really helps keep everything just kind of running smooth. And I am 1,000,000% blessed to the people that have joined in this community and have chosen to invest their time into this space. Like, it's just unbelievable. It's some of the most incredible humans I've ever met in my entire life. And so they're all like me. They all have a big vision, and they're allowed to explore that vision and to create within that vision. It's just not a dictatorship, I think, basically is the answer. Like, I started the show, but it is not my show. It is our show. And everyone in there knows and understands it's our show. And so collaboratively, they all chip in to make sure that our show goes smooth and it really makes the impact that we want it to make.
Perfect. Addy, does that answer your question?
More than answer. Thank you so much.
Lovely, lovely. Let's go through the list. Sophia, did you want to go?
Good morning. Yes, hi. Thank you. Sorry, I just had a bit of a problem unmuting. Thanks very much, and welcome. So say good morning to everybody, and good morning to the winners. And Glenn, I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you so very much for the fact that you have showed up so well, and during the journey that you've shared with us, it's been so inspirational. And as an inspirational person, a lot of what I've heard from your own presentations and also from your moderators have been life-changing. I suppose my question really is, just listening to your story, and being a self-care advocate, how do you create balance? What's the relationship now with your wife and your family? How do you create balance? And I love one episode where you had your baby and you were sort of speaking, and your voice obviously was a lullaby because the baby went to sleep. So how do you create balance, Glenn?
Yeah, so that word balance, the English language it's really interesting, and we have to be really careful with the words that we use, right? So I think when people seek balance in their lives, it is very hard to find balance, right? It's hard to find balance. It's hard to find the same amount of time to pour into the business, to pour into the family, to pour into the whatever. And so for me, what I have learned is that instead of trying to find a balance in our lives, instead, it's just the most important thing we can do is invest our time, right? Invest. Here's the word that I want everybody to write down. Write down the word invest. So what I do is I invest my time. Every minute of my day is in investment. Now, what do you expect when you invest in something? You expect a return, right? You want a return on that investment. So if your intention is to get a return, now you shift the energy that you put into that time, right? Because I want to make sure I'm getting a return on my investment. Now, here's what's really interesting. Here's what we hear people say all the time. People say, I invest in the stock market. I invest in cryptocurrencies. I invest time in my business, right? People will say that all the time. But then they'll say, I spend time with my wife. I spend time with my kids. I spend time on social media, right? The word spend is a deficit. Spend means take away, right? If you spend $10 out of your bank account will have $10 less. But if you invest $10, we're looking to get a return. So here's the key. The way that I am able to have success between my 8 children, my beautiful bride, the 3 different businesses that I run, including the time that we spend on Clubhouse and other social media platforms, is that everything's an investment that I'm looking to get a return. So with my daughter Willow, if I invest literally less than 5 minutes into making sure she feels seen, heard, and significant, that's all she needs. I get a return. Her personality type, she don't want to hang out with me for more than 5 minutes anyway. So 5 minutes, she's like, Daddy, I love you, and she's out. My son, Joel, who's 10, he requires a different investment. He likes to fish. He likes to farm. He likes to be outside. He's my oldest son. He needs the investment with him is experiential, right? He's like, Dad, go fishing with me. Dad, go play basketball with me. Dad, go throw a ball with me. So I invest time in him. It's a little more time. I spend more time with him than I do with Willow, but it's ultimately I'm just getting the same result. Do you see what I'm saying? It's about getting a return on that investment. My wife, in order to get a return on investment with my wife, you know what my wife requires? She requires that before we go to bed every night, that we watch an episode of Seinfeld, Friends, or The King of Queens, or Everybody Loves Raymond. One of those 4 shows, right? That's her love language. She loves those silly TV shows right before bed that are mindless. And so every night, right before we go to bed, we put on or Big Bang Theory. Big Bang Theory is okay too. So we watch one of those shows every night. And for my wife, that's what she needs, right? And I get a return on that investment. My business needs certain attention in certain areas. Other areas it doesn't. So balance is a facade. You're never going to spend 8 hours, in one spot, 8 hours on your business, 8 hours with your family. Like, that's not how it's going to work. But if you just make sure that everything's an investment, get a return from it, have the intention of getting a return on your time. When you do that, then you find ways to be able to do all the different things that it is that you want to do in your life. I hope that helps.
Awesome
Thank
stuff.
you so very much.
Great stuff. Thank you. No worries at all. Right, we've got to rattle through a few more quickly because I know Glenn's got to go in about 10 minutes time to get ready for this morning's session of Breakfast with Champions. Great name. Jagdeep, coming to you next, pal. Over to you. What's your question?
Yeah. Hi, Glenn. Absolutely brilliant. I've been listening to your room several times and I love the way you've built the community. My question is around leaders lead. And when leaders lead, they'll always face some form of criticism within the community. And when you do face that criticism, it becomes really challenging to keep that community together. What challenges have you faced and how have you dealt with them to still build that community and still have this original OGs together in your community? Thanks.
Yeah, man, we had a lot of challenges. And at one point, like I said, straight up, a walkout, right? We had basically like a full on walkout at one point. Everybody was like, luckily my show's PG-12 because everybody was like, forget you, Glenn. When, what they really wanted to say, they couldn't say because we're a PG-12 show. But it's been interesting because there's a lot of different personalities. And at one point, we kind of shifted a little bit and we were just a bit off the mark. Like, on a golf ball, if you hit a golf ball and you miss by like a millimeter, but you're only like trying to hit the ball 3 feet, it doesn't matter. But When you miss by a millimeter and you try to hit the ball 300 yards, like you end up on a different course, right? And so there was a little season in Breakfast with Champions where we were just a millimeter off, and then fast forward 4 to 5 months and we were just on the wrong course. You know, we were literally on the wrong hole. And so it has been challenging, but luckily for me and for us, are we okay, Paul? I see panic on Paul's face there. We okay? Okay. The thing that has held it all together, the glue that has held it all together, is that we're very, very clear on our core values, and we're very, very clear on the mission, right? So motivation, education, inspiration. If you come into the room, that's what you're going to get. Everybody knows that. That's what we deliver: motivation, education, inspiration. The intention is to help people change the way they start their day, right? And everybody gets a seat at the table. So you'll hear those three things in our room all the time. You're going to hear motivation, education, inspiration. Everybody gets a seat at the table, and change the way you start your day. So because those things are so clear and have been established from the very beginning, even when things get cloudy on the outside, or there's strife or personalities or whatever, then we just dumb it down and we say, okay, hold up, wait, let's start over. We've complicated this. We've made this more complicated than it should be. Are we motivating, educating, and inspiring? Check that box. Okay, good. Does everybody get a seat at the table? Okay, check that box. Good. Are we helping people change the way they start their day? Okay, check the box. Good. As long as those three boxes are checked, then we're going to be okay. When we get away from our core values, that's when things get squirrely. And there was a season, right? There was a season where we were trying to figure out, you know, should we have this person on the stage? Should these people be on the stage? Maybe this person shouldn't be doing this, or this person shouldn't be doing that. And then it's like, whoa. We somehow got a millimeter off, and now we're on the wrong course. Everybody gets a seat at the table. That's the core value. So why are we spending time sorting who gets a seat at the table and who doesn't? Right? The core value is everybody gets a seat at the table. And so, yes, it has been challenging at times, but luckily we've had those core things in place, and we can always go back to those and kind of wipe the slate clean and start over based on that. And as long as we stay on those three core principles, I think we'll be okay.
Super powerful, those core values, especially like say when you're I love the analogy there. If you're knocking something 3 foot and it's a millimeter off, it don't make too much of an impact, but the bigger you're trying to build something, that tiny little disalignment can have a huge different outcome or a different destination ultimately. So yeah, great share. Awesome question, Jagdeep. Thank you as always. Right, final question. Keep it a quick one if you can, Sarah, and then we're going to let Glenn go in the next 4 minutes. So Sarah, over to you for the final question. Make it a good one.
Okay, so I've always believed in communities, good leaders find good leaders. Would you give us an example of what you're looking for when you have people in your community that you think would be great leaders, and how do you identify those strengths?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I honestly haven't looked for great leaders. The great leaders show up, they show up, and that's the first and probably most important aspect is the people that show up, the ones that show up every day, the ones that you can rely on, the ones that you can count on, right? What we do is not easy. We run plus hours of content every week, right? It's 50 plus hours of content every week. It's crazy when you think about it. And so show up people. We have people that can show up because I can't monitor 50 hours plus of content. So I have to trust that these moderators are going to show up when they see they're going to show up. And they're not going to shoot a message 5 minutes before or 10 minutes before or just skip out on their segment, right? And when we agree to partner with people, and that's really what it is, because I have not once over this last year and a half have I sought out anyone to be a part of our show. The show itself has attracted the type of people that we want to run with, right? By creating a space of motivation, education, inspiration, where everybody gets a seat at the table, changing the way we start our day, running the hours that we run, it has attracted the type of people that align with that. And ultimately, we need them to show up. We need them to be aligned with our core values. They have to walk the walk, right? You can't just talk the talk. You can't be like, yeah, change the way you start your day, motivation, education, inspiration. And then you're freaking sleeping in till like 2 o'clock in the afternoon every day. And you're the most negative person on the planet. Like, that doesn't freaking work, right? Like, if your social media is all politics, gloom and doom, I'm like, sorry, you're not the right fit. I love you for who you are, but you're not a right fit for what we're doing. So we're looking for people that are aligned with not aligned with our, not like-minded. I always like to be really clear on this. They don't have to be like-minded. They just have to be like-hearted. We share one heart in Breakfast with Champions. It's a heart where we want to make an impact in other people's lives. We believe different things. We all have different religious beliefs, different political beliefs, different backgrounds, different perspectives. So we're not looking for people that align with us in thought. We're looking for people who align with us in heart. And that's what we've got with our leaders right now, those that lead segments, is we all share the same heart and passion for people. And this opportunity to make an impact in other people's lives is what drives us every single day.
Amazing. What a great share to end a great room. Thank you very much, Glenn, for your time. Guys, as a sign of appreciation, if you don't mind, give him a flash of the mic as a Clubhouse social audio round of applause. Big shout out to Glenn and everyone. So, hear that? Someone's just going, great. That was great. It's very, very British sound, wasn't it? That was great, Glenn. Thanks ever so much. Fabulous. Yeah, brilliant to have you on this morning, mate. It's been fantastic to watch the journey and the evolution of Breakfast with Champions. Obviously, you know, with what we're doing within the Winners Club, we're on a similar path. You know, some days we get it right, some days we get it wrong. You know, cultivating a community, driving a community forwards is not always easy, but it's always worth the effort.
There's no blueprint either, is there?
No.
Nobody's ever done
100%.
built something like these two clubs or attempted to do it.
We're just waiting for Glenn's path map.
Yeah,
exactly. Guys, if you want to, click on the link at the top of the room right now, themorning5.com. That's themorning5.com. That is the free ebook that you can download from Glenn about how to set your day up the right way. Glenn will leave you to get set up for your own show, which is coming up in the next 5 minutes. We'll have a look on the Breakfast with Champions group and club and find out what is coming up this morning. We'll let you go and get sorted. But thank you, my friend, from all of us, all of your friends this side of the pond. We appreciate your time. Thank you for being here. Glenn Lundy, everybody. The man, the myth, the legend.
Appreciate you guys, man. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been awesome, and I appreciate what you guys have done across the pond there, and keep up the great work. Anything I can ever do for you, please just let me know. And I love what you guys are doing. So I'll see ya. I'll see you in the house.
Good man. Have a great
Cheers,
day.
Glenn. Thank you very much,
Cheers,
Glenn.
pal.
Take it easy.
Awesome stuff. There he is. Glenn Lundy going to go and get himself ready for the Breakfast with Champions room this morning. Guys, if you haven't done so yet, go and follow Breakfast with Champions. They put on some great content. They've got some great moderators, some great speakers. They've got 137,000 members of their club. They were one of the originals, weren't they? Doing cool stuff. Today on the show, they're talking about how to form good habits and become their slave. Become a slave to your good habits.
It's refreshing to hear, because we've had criticism, we've had our fair share of falling outs, and it's refreshing to hear that it's had exactly the same
experience.
Journey.
You're always going to get
like we
it,
say,
aren't
nobody gave you the blueprint, did they? When they said, right, run a large clubhouse club, do a daily show. This is how you do it. Like nobody nobody ever worked that out. And the same thing, we've gone in certain directions, realised we're slightly off path, had to reconfigure, do stuff in a slightly different way. Still doing it now.
Yeah, 100%.
That's as you said, if you've got a far reach, if you're that little bit off, you're on a different course.
Yeah.
And it's.
And it is that balancing act, isn't it, with the community, because a community does need to be empowered by the people within the community, but ultimately it needs a person or people to pick a direction, go, right, we're going to walk that way for the betterment of what we're trying to create here based on those core values. Hopefully it'll work out. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But exactly, as Glenn mentioned, those core values are super, super important. What a great morning here within the Winners Club on Breakfast Winners. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your earbuds. Much appreciated. We will be back tomorrow.
You've got 2 minutes to go. Don't peak early. 120. Ashley's already out the door.
He's already gone.
What's on the agenda today?
Oh, I'm going training with Kirk Miller.
Oh, okay.
He's a podcast agency client. He's coming in to do some. I don't know if he's announced he's doing a podcast. So I've just announced it for him. Oh well, never mind. That's happening today, and he's coming.
Ashley
in
needs a wee, apparently. Everybody, thanks, Ash. Cheers. He's running. Bye bye.
He couldn't wait for another 90 seconds and pee in a bottle, like the Amazon drivers are having to do. Apparently, he had that story. That's a different story. Let's not go there. So Kirk's over in the UK. I said, well, come in and do some of the recording sessions in the studios. Like, why don't we go for a training session?
Have you seen Kirk Miller to train here?
Nuffield Health.
Okay.
There's one 5 minutes away in Romford, apparently.
Okay.
So I had that excuse was gone because I've got a Nuffield Health membership. So I was like, oh, okay, so we can do that. So every excuse that I've got possible to not train with Kirk Miller is gone. So
I should have said I would have bought my gym stuff.
I would, yeah, but you're already...
It's a bit like when Ashley went for lunch with Esther McVeigh. Cheers for you. Right, thanks for that. Cheers.
I didn't think you'd be
still sore and sour about that one, but
this is your rest day, isn't it?
Yeah, but
don't mess about. Don't give it loads.
I could unrest.
I wish I hadn't given it loads with Kirk about going training with him. To be fair, I watched his Sunday sort of like moderate rest day workout. Looks like the most I've ever trained in my life. So I think I'm in for a rude awakening. I'm coming back to the studio later on, so I'm going to leave one man and come back a different person.
Okay.
Evolution. Anyway.
Fair enough.
We are done and dusted, gang. It is 9 o'clock here in the United Kingdom. Cheers for your ears, as always. Much appreciated. Don't forget, go and give Glenn a follow. In fact, if you go to the hallway right now, in theory, let me just check what's going on in the hallway right now. In the next 30 seconds or so, there will be another fabulous room that you can go and join from Breakfast with Champions, our friends over the pond. So go and check out that show now. Talk about all the things around habits this morning. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. for more tactical, actionable, usable content. And other than that, cheers for ears. Have a lovely day. If you can't do anything else nice, just be nice to each other, yeah? All right, lovely. See you later. Bye.